हेलो फ्रेंड्स, वेलकम बैक टू माय चैनल। तो आज मैं इसका नेक्स्ट पार्ट लेके आ चुका हूँ गाइस। तो बिना किसी देरी के चलिए स्टार्ट करते हैं।
Chapter 70. Displeased with me. 9 Generations Extermination Technique. With a wave of Fuyi's hand, a 9-colored jade box appeared out of nowhere beside him. Immediately after, the jade box opened a gap, and an ice blue divine sword shot out from within. PFF. The ice blue longsword pierced straight into the opponent's chest. At this moment, Hu Meng's eyes were filled with disbelief. He could not believe that the young man before him possessed such terrifying strength, nor could he believe that the other party would truly dare to kill him in public. But even with his chest pierced, with his spirit Douluo level strength, he could still hold on for a while. However, what he would face next was watching with his own eyes how his sect was annihilated. Swish. The ice blue longsword returned to Fuyi's hand almost instantly, and the teachers behind Tianshui Academy, including Han Rian, were shocked beyond measure by this move of Fuyi's. If you kill me, you will. Hu Meng no longer had much strength to speak, but Fuyi shook his head. It will not do anything to me, but you, including your family, will meet with you in the hell of Yellow Springs. Just at this moment, 9 abyssal and prison-like blood-colored spirit rings emerged behind Fuyi. The 2 spirit Douluo elders of the Black Tiger sect present, including Han Rian and the group of teachers and disciples of Tianshui Academy, were unable to move a single inch. First spirit ability, second form, Sigh of the Ice and Snow God, Burial of the 100 Flowers in the Frozen Sky. Following Fuyi's low chant, in the next moment, giant ice flowers the size of children began to fall from the sky. Not only here, but the same magnificent ice flowers also appeared above the Black Tiger sect. Upon touching a human body, the ice flowers began to spread crazily at an incredible speed. Almost in the blink of an eye, the 3 of them were enveloped by these gorgeous ice flowers. And the Black Tiger sect, far away on the east side of Ningning City, was already buried by these ice flowers, and the disciples within lost all vitality like ice sculptures. Before you die, let me show you your sect again, so you can be an enlightened ghost. Fuyi casually condensed an ice flower, and on the ice flower was the miserable state of the Black Tiger sect disciples, including Hu Meng's clan, frozen into ice. At this moment, his whole body was already covered by the ice flowers. Even if he still had the strength to speak, he could no longer open his mouth. When the ice flowers scatter, that will be the time of your destruction. Since you like to bully the weak with your strength, then don't blame me for exterminating your 9 generations. Upon saying this, a limit Douluo puppet wearing black armor appeared in front of Fuyi. Leave no one from the Black Tiger sect outside. Yes, master. After hearing Fuyi's words, the limit Douluo puppet disappeared from the spot instantly. Don't ask how it would find people, it had a precise navigation cheat code. Crack. The next moment, the ice flowers began to shatter. The 3 spirit Douluos enveloped by this extreme ice were all reduced to dust and dissipated between heaven and earth without exception. As for the Black Tiger sect, the entire sect disappeared without a trace in an instant, and the Black Tiger sect disciples who had just seen that the timing was wrong and tried to run away were all cleaned up by the black armored puppet one by one. Ah, tilde so sleepy. These people are so annoying, they won't even let someone sleep in peace. After finishing all this, Fuyi yawned as if nothing had happened and waved his hand casually. Alright, since the matter is resolved, I'll go back and catch up on sleep. Almost in an instant, Fuyi's figure disappeared from the spot, and the 9-colored jade box in front of Shui Binger also turned into a stream of light and disappeared from the spot. After a long while, Shui Yuer was the first to break the silence at the scene. Big sister, big brother Fuyi is really handsome. Big boss, little sister Yuer, big brother Fuyi is mine, don't you dare fight with me. In the afternoon, Heavendo Imperial City, Moon Pavilion. Brother, it's so boring here at the Moon Pavilion, why don't you help your little sister talk to Father Emperor? A little girl with a petite figure wearing gorgeous clothes sat in front of a tall and handsome young man, throwing a tantrum. Little sister Princess Shuike, there's no need to worry. Father Emperor is doing this for your own good. Look, haven't I, your second brother, also been sent here? That's right, they were Shui Qing and Princess Shuike, who had been sent here by Shui Yi. Of course, Shui Qing equals Tian Runshui. It's just that the current Tian Runshui was not simple. Her goal in coming here was very simple. Her sister had sacrificed so much for her cultivate, and she wanted to give the entire Heaven Do Empire to her sister as a gift. It was just that what made her feel awkward was that she knew Tang Yuehua. Her sister used to bring her here to play often, but now she had changed her appearance to come here. Outside the main gate of the Moon Pavilion, Fuyi walked in with leisurely steps. It was still the same as it was more than a decade ago, still elegant and solemn. Tucked at his waist was a very flashy gold-plated small tag, Douluo Continent Teacher ID. This was given to him by Tang Yuehua long ago before Fuyi left. He walked past the student with familiarity. Looking at these new faces, Fuyi's heart did not stir at all. However, he was stunned when he arrived at the innermost classroom. Name, Tian Runshui. Age, 19. Spirit, 6-winged seraphim. Spirit power, level 95. God trial, angel god 5th trial. Question mark. No, buddy, you're already a super Douluo, yet you're still playing dress-up games here. He had left a Candle Sun Immortal Herb for Tian Runshui back then, specifically so she would prioritize her cultivate, but this girl still went down the old path of cosplay. But considering she hadn't neglected her cultivation, Fuyi would forgive the other party for now. To reach level 95 at 19 and have already reached the 5th trial of the God trial meant she hadn't been slacking off in her daily cultivate. Wow, brother Ching, this handsome big brother is even better looking than you. Princess Shuike couldn't take her eyes off Fuyi when she saw him, and Shui Qing also noticed Fuyi standing at the door because of this. Haha, little sister, you are so cute, but next time you should call me mentor. Hearing someone talk about him, Fuyi walked straight in, and the information panel in front of him updated once again. Name, Princess Shuike. Age, 10. Spirit, Crystal Swan. Spirit power, level 15. Ah, is big brother a teacher here? Princess Shuike was full of confusion. At this moment, she was staring straight at Fuyi, her expression full of disbelief. Hearing this, Tian Runshui, who was playing the role of Shui Qing, also became interested. One must know that she had already inquired about this place, and she had never heard of such a young mentor. I am indeed a mentor here, it's just that I left the Moon Pavilion for a while due to temporary matters beforehand. Chapter 71. 2 years later, intercepting the Zhu sisters. A narrow, long, and gloomy dark alley, it felt like a corner forgotten by the Douluo world. Sunlight could hardly shine in, keeping this place shrouded in dimness all year round, exuding an aura of decay and oppression. The walls were covered in mottled, damp moss. The stone floor was uneven, with puddles of foul-smelling sewage collecting in the pits. There was some clutter piled up in the corner, but a noisy yet rhythmic sound came from deeper within. After a long while, two figures, one in white and one in red, emerged from it, though both had somewhat unnatural expressions on their faces. Oscar, this matter must never be spoken of, otherwise you and I. The fatty in red put his 5 fingers together and made a slicing gesture across his own neck. Fatty, I'm not stupid. Is this something that can be talked about? Oscar took a deep breath, but ultimately didn't dare to say it out loud. Let's go quickly, just treat it like we had a nightmare. Ma Hongjun felt a chill just thinking about what happened last night. Hurry, hurry, it won't be good if that guy wakes up and sees us later. The two quickly fled the scene. About a quarter of an hour after they left, a rustling sound came from deep within the dark alley. Cough, cough. A cough came from deep in the dark alley. When he walked out, he was seen to be a boy with an appearance so ordinary that it couldn't be more ordinary, and he even looked a bit clownish. That's right, this was our reincarnated and reborn God King Tang Chuan. It's just that his current situation was more or less terrible, his cheeks filled with pain. Damn it, who exactly is it, who is harming me? Tang Chuan was furious. Yesterday afternoon, for some reason, he had been in high spirits, and in the end, he had actually passed out from exhaustion. But he really hadn't had any strength left at that time. Ah. Tang Chuan roared angrily at the sky. He was a dignified God King, the pure and flawless God King Tang. To think that after his rebirth he was. No, it's already afternoon now, and he has to wait until night to get his board crystal. Damn it. Step, step, step. Thump. Anxious to leave this place, the God King Tang Chuan tripped and fell face first into the mud, his eyes rolled back, and he passed out directly. Unknown time passed. Boss, look. Tisk tisk, what a loser. To be able to ruin himself into this ghostly state just by visiting a brothel here. At the same time, the limit Douluo puppet in Tang San's shadow, I feel like I can make a move again. ... Unknowingly, 2 years passed quietly. In the middle of the night, by a small river 30 miles outside Soto City. Fuyi was casting and retrieving his rod leisurely. Divine rank cheat device host. Fuyi age, 21, age locked rank, level 99 quasi-god, rank locked appearance, immortal charm, highest level, locked first spirit, divine sense sword box, 1 box with 9 swords, 9 ultimate attributes, red second spirit, dragon god, the origin of all spirit beast, controlling the power of judgment and punishment, red mental force, 99,999 peak of spirit domain realm, rank locked physique, 100 max level 100 rank locked goddess favorability list, BB Dunk 100% love you forever, Tang Yue Hua 100% love you forever, Luerlong 100% love you forever, Xiao Wu 100% love you forever, Han Rian 80% hidden crushed Shui Binger 70% likes but Tsuneri, Shui Yu 85% likes very much, Shui Wu 85% likes very much, Tian Run Shui 65% whipping boy, Shen Liu 85% likes spicy the most, Yu Hero 85% really like it, system mall warehouse, enter the name to take whatever you want from anything that has existed in the Douluo world 1234. System hidden function, 100% chance to drop spirit bone when killing spirit beast, personal lucky index 100% lock dependence cannot conceive. Comprehensive evaluation, what kind of evaluation does a cheat need? Just enjoying it is enough. Looking at his favorability panel, Fuyi felt that his efforts over the past 2 years had not been in vain. Of course, except for that brat Tian Run Shui. You have to know that in these 2 years, there were many times when he was doing bad things with BB Dong and was almost caught by this girl. But now is not the time to think about these things. He knew clearly that today, a big and a small cat would pass by here. Anyway, taking one is taking one, and taking two is also taking one, so he simply decided to pack them both up and take them away. As for the Star Luo Empire, at worst, he would just let a few limit Douluo puppets take a few more trips to keep the old emperor of the Star Luo Empire company. Tonight's moon was exceptionally bright. Although it wasn't a full moon, it was only missing a small corner. Fuyi lit a campfire early and sat here waiting for the fated people. Half an hour passed unknowingly, but Fuyi was not in a hurry at all. A quarter of an hour later. A flurry of footsteps came from afar. Feeling this, a smile appeared on Fuyi's cheek. A big fish, oh no, a big cat is about to take the bait. Sounds came from afar. My good sister, you can't escape. I advise you to just stop and accept your death obediently. A cold female voice echoed in the forest. Dream on. A crisp but slightly childish voice retorted directly. It was clear that the person who said this was very angry at the moment. Second young miss, just give up. You and the third prince who deserted the battle cannot compare to the eldest young miss. Yes, perhaps the third prince your highness who deserted the battle has already prepared to change his name and live out the rest of his life. That's right, they were Zhu Zuqing and Zhu Zuyun. Damn it. Zhu Zuqing was already on the verge of despair. She had finally saved up enough travel expenses and escaped, only to be targeted by her good sister again. She had been hunted by the other party for a whole day and night, and she had suffered not insignificant injuries on her body. Although they were not fatal, they slowed down her speed. Crackle. Just at this moment, Zhu Zuqing suddenly saw a glimmer of firelight. You have to know, how could anyone be living here in this wilderness? She didn't think too much, but then she hardened her heart and ran directly in another direction. Zhu Zuqing was a kind girl by nature, and she did not want to implicate other innocent people because of herself. And Fuyi, who was sitting in place, was stunned after feeling this situation, but he reacted quickly. The other party did not want to implicate him. A kind girl like Zhu Zuqing could definitely be counted as a breath of fresh air in this Douluo continent. But it is a pity that in the original work, her other half was the exact opposite of her. Chapter 72, The Love and Hatred Between the Cat Sisters. Hey, little sister is truly as kind as ever, even when you are about to die, you don't want to drag others down with you. Seeing Zhu Zuqing change direction, a flicker of something strange flashed in Zhu Zuyun's dark, bright eyes, though her tongue remained as unforgiving as ever. Young miss, there's someone here. Just then, one of the people beside her spotted Fuyi sitting by the campfire, and the guard's words drew Zhu Zuyun's attention to Fuyi's presence, a hint of surprise flashing in the corner of her eye. Ignore him, keep chasing Zhu Zuqing. Zhu Zuyun didn't linger, and Fuyi felt a bit helpless at the sight. Seriously, aren't you people looking down on me a bit too much? Hollow circle backquote 3, hollow circle. Plenty of people have looked down on him, but this was the first time he had been looked down upon like this. Name, Zhu Zuyun, age, 18, spirit power, rank 38, spirit, health civet, identity, eldest young miss of the Star Luo Empire's Duke Nether family, fiancé of the first Prince Dai We See. Watching Zhu Zuqing lead Zhu Zuyun running in another direction, Fu Yi felt a headache coming on. Seriously, you guys are heading toward Nuoding City, hey. ... In the dense forest, Zhu Zuqing's footsteps were hurried, not daring to stop for even a moment. She knew that only by reaching the city would she have a glimmer of hope for survival. However, she was nearly exhausted by now, her spirit power almost completely depleted, and she couldn't hold on much longer. Finally, tripped by a thin vine, Zhu Zuqing fell heavily to the ground, and 3 figures were now rushing toward her location at great speed. My dear little sister, there is no need to make a death struggle anymore, accept the arrangement of fate and obediently come back with your sister. Perhaps I might even be able to spare your life. Reflecting the moonlight, Zhu Zuyun's flawless figure appeared before Zhu Zuqing. Her words were full of disdain, as if she had already decided Zhu Zuqing's fate. Go back, do you think I don't know what you were thinking? With such hypocrisy, you might as well just give me a clean cut right now. Looking at the 3 people gradually surrounding her, Zhu Zuqing knew she couldn't escape. Being dragged back by her sister or dying here led to the same outcome. She didn't want to live that life of constant fear anymore. Hypocrisy, ha ha ha, my good little sister, you still don't understand anything. Zhu Zuyun looked at her good little sister, Zhu Zuqing, with a face full of disdain, though no one noticed the trace of reluctance hidden deep within her eyes. But just then, a figure familiar to the 3 of them appeared before them. Hello there, we meet again. Looking at the spirit-possessed Zhu Zuyun before him, along with the 2 spirit elder guards wielding a cleaver and a warhammer, a sense of helplessness rose in Fu Yi's heart. He could feel that Zhu Zuyun didn't seem to want to kill Zhu Zuqing. On the contrary, she was leaving opportunities for the other party to escape at every turn. Fu Yi looked at the guards, whose spirits were a cleaver and a warhammer, panting with exhaustion, and then looked at Zhu Zuqing, who was lying on the ground covered in wounds. It's you. Zhu Zuyun naturally recognized Fu Yi, who had just been sitting by the campfire looking completely harmless. After all, in Zhu Zuqing's perception, other than having a fair amount of good looks, she hadn't sensed any spirit power from him at all. Kid, the young miss was merciful, which is why we let you go. Don't you dare be ungrateful. I'll give you 3 seconds. If you don't leave, you die. Seeing Fu Yi blocking their path, the 2 guards immediately lost their temper. After all, they had chased all the way from Douluo to Heaven Do. Oh, are you sure that with such weak strength, you can kill me? Fu Yi revealed a half-smiling expression as he looked at the 2 guards. Seeing the faint, almost non-existent killing intent in their eyes, Fu Yi only felt that the 2 of them were a bit laughable. Ignoring them, Fu Yi walked with light steps toward the fallen Zhu Zuqing. Little girl, you and I seem to have some fate. Why don't you consider coming with me? Fu Yi's voice was full of magnetism. For a stubborn girl like Zhu Zuqing, Fu Yi knew very well that he couldn't use force. Upon hearing Fu Yi's words, Zhu Zuqing's gaze flickered, but she also fell into a very conflicted state. Who are you, and why do you want to help me? Who am I? Naturally, I am a lecher, cough cough, asterisk. If you ask me why I want to help you, I just can't stand to see a pure and kind girl perish just like that. As for who I am, if you are willing to come with me, you will naturally know in the future. Forcing girls to do things was not something Fu Yi could do, of course, with the exception of Wu. No, she cannot go with you. At this moment, Zhu Zuyun finally couldn't sit still. Although she did intend to place her little sister under house arrest, that would at least protect her life from being threatened. If she let her little sister rashly leave with a man in front of her, no one would know what might happen. Little girl, have you decided? I respect your choice. In the forest under the night sky, the moonlight was fragmented by dense branches and leaves. A 9-colored white jade sword case appeared at his side, and then an ice blue longsword surged into his palm. Holding the water-cold longsword, Fu Yi was like the Grim Reaper in the night. The sword flickered with a cold glint in the dim light, as if it couldn't wait to drink blood. A terrifying aura emanated from Fu Yi's body, and at this moment, the 3 of them, Zhu Zuyun included, felt their hair stand on end as if they were facing a formidable enemy. I am willing to go with you. After a moment of contemplation, Zhu Zuqing agreed directly to Fu Yi. She did not want to trust her sister anymore, nor did she want to return to that nightmare-like family. Very well. Without any extra words, his figure flashed, and the sword was already unsheathed. In an instant, the sword streaked across the night sky like a meteor, bringing with it a gust of cold wind. The blade easily slashed across one person's throat, blood splattering out like a blooming red plum blossom under the moonlight. Before the other person could react, the sword turned and thrust, piercing directly through his chest. The 2 fell one after another, their eyes filled with unwillingness. At this moment, Zhu Zuyun didn't even dare to breathe. 2 spirit elder guards had just been killed so easily. Does that mean she, too? The very next moment, Fu Yi's longsword was about to pierce Zhu Zuyun's throat, but just then, Zhu Zuqing, who had finally snapped out of it, suddenly spoke up. Don't. Just then, a figure that had long been hiding in the shadows appeared before Fu Yi. The next moment, that black shadow, like a ghost, unleashed sharp claws, wanting to tear Fu Yi's throat, and the 6 spirit rings behind him indicated his rank. A spirit emperor powerhouse of over rank 60. But Fu Yi did not dodge any of these attacks from the other party, simply standing in place without any movement. Clang. The sound of metal clashing rang out. A look of astonishment appeared in the eyes of the person who had launched the sneak attack, but the next moment. Poochie. Poochie. The water-cold sword traced a magnificent ice arc, leaving a wound deep enough to see bone on both the person's neck and heart, and the other party's broken body gradually turned into a water-blue ice sculpture at this moment. Chapter 73, Lightning Strikes Twice, meeting Daimubai again. Douluo Continent, Douluo Empire. The ancient and magnificent palace stood silently, its vermilion gates heavy with history, the copper nails on the doors gleaming with majesty. The upturned eaves and brackets resembled eagles about to take flight, the glazed tiles reflecting colorful light under the sun, and every corner of the hall was permeated with the luxurious atmosphere of the former royal family. Within the ancestral hall of the Great Hall, an ancestral tablet near the center suddenly shattered at this moment. Don't say anything about the Douluo Continent being the bottom tier of Xuanwan and not having soul tablets, just treat this as a secondary setting. It is a Xuanwan world, after all, otherwise no one would know if someone in the family died. Who is it, who dares to attack a consecrated expert of my Douluo Empire? On the other side, in the forest 40 miles outside Soto City. An ice blue blade was pressed against Zhu Zuyun's throat. At this moment, her pupils constricted, seemingly unable to believe the current situation. You're quite an interesting girl, to actually have a spirit emperor guardian behind you. But unfortunately, he met me. Fu Yi's expression was very calm. He had long since sensed the spirit emperor behind Zhu Zuyun, but from her expression, it wasn't hard to see that she didn't seem to know of this spirit emperor's existence. Die we see. Although the ice longsword was pressed against her throat, she was still thinking about the spirit emperor who had just jumped out from behind her. She didn't know about the existence of this spirit emperor, and with her current authority, she couldn't mobilize an expert of that level. Therefore, the only one who could have a spirit emperor monitor her was Dai Wuxi. Senior, can you spare her life? Just then, Zhu Zuqing spoke up. After all, the person in front of her was her biological elder sister. She couldn't just stand by and watch her die before her eyes. Keep her so she can go back and bring reinforcements. Little girl, I hope you aren't that naive. Regarding Zhu Zuyun, Fu Yi might believe she had no intention of harming Zhu Zuqing, but letting her go was impossible, no matter how you look at it. Thud. Asterisk. At this moment, Zhu Zuyun actually knelt down directly. The ice blue sword tip drew a crimson bloodstain on the tip of her throat. Please, senior, do not kill me. I can give everything I have to senior. Zhu Zuyun knew that if she didn't state her position now, she would likely die here. She was still young and didn't want to die. Oh, give me everything. Fu Yi looked at Zhu Zuyun with a calm face and scanned her. To be honest, perhaps because Zhu Zuyun was already an adult, her figure was even more perfect than Zhu Zuqing's. Item, Ordinary Spirit Elder, Slave Mark. Effect, can control all actions of the enslaved person. Price, 0, stock, 99,999 plus. Item, Premium Spirit Saint, Slave Mark. Effect, can control all actions of the enslaved person. Price, 0, stock, 99,999 plus. Item, Super Title Douluo, Slave Mark. Effect, can control all actions of the enslaved person. Price, 0, stock, 99,999 plus. Fu Yi checked the items in his mall internally, preparing to use one on Zhu Zuyun. Although he wasn't some villainous person, he had to have the necessary safeguards. Feeling Fu Yi's scrutinizing gaze, Zhu Zuyun raised her head and looked at him with her bright black eyes. Yes, everything. 10 minutes later, Rose Hotel. 2 rooms. Regarding the fact that the Rose Hotel had changed owners, he expressed that he understood perfectly. After all, since the last incident was so big, Flender's group of good brothers would definitely not let the owner of the Rose Hotel off easily. That owner had likely packed up and fled long ago. The current Rose Hotel was the same as before, but the staff and front desk manager had been completely reshuffled. Guest, we only have. Thud, asterisk. I told you to open 2, so open 2. Fu Yi casually tossed a large bag of gold coins onto the table, about 1,000 of them. Right away, sir, here are your room keys. The 2 rooms are right next to each other. After collecting the money, the lobby manager's eyes widened when he saw the 2 stunning young girls standing behind Fu Yi. However, his professional ethics were still very high, and he forced his gaze back toward the entrance, preparing to welcome new guests. You should know that it was already night, and this was usually when there were the most guests. Purple Mist, Orange Dreamland. The names are as interesting as before. Looking at the keycards the manager handed him, he couldn't help but feel a bit emotional. After all, back then, he had beaten Daimubai from a white tiger into a dog. Not seeing him now actually made him feel a bit nostalgic. Bam, asterisk. The glass door was kicked open by a great force. Manager, how did I just hear at the door that you gave my purple mist to someone else? Didn't I tell you that's my exclusive room? At this moment, a young man with a face full of black stubble and long, slightly pale golden hair walked in aggressively, looking very displeased, holding 2 pretty girls in his arms. That's right, this was our young master Daimubai. Ever since he was crippled by Fu Yi 2 years ago, he had completely fallen into depravity. He was already no match for his elder brother and sister, and now he had spent nearly 2 years recovering from his injuries, so he had completely given up. With his spirit power having stalled for 2 years and still being only at rank 31, how was he supposed to compete with his elder brother? Furthermore, he discovered that his cultivation speed was far inferior to before, and even his spirit had undergone a certain degree of regression. Young Master Dai, you remember incorrectly. The 2 rooms you have on a yearly basis are Cyan Ripples and Green Pond. You only stayed in Purple Mist once half a year ago. Fu Yi and the 2 girls, Zhu Zuqing and her sister, all had their backs to Daimubai, but upon hearing his words, Zhu Zuqing's delicate body trembled slightly. And her dear sister, Zhu Zuyun, naturally recognized who the person standing behind them was. Daimubai. It was the Daimubai that Zhu Zuqing had been bitterly waiting for in the Star Luo Empire for 5 years. It was the 3rd prince of Star Luo, Daimubai, whom Zhu Zuqing would seek out even at the cost of her life. It was also at this time that Daimubai noticed the 2 slender figures in front of him. Although he hadn't seen their faces, based on his 10+ years of experience in the brothels, these 2 were definitely top tier. And looking at their clothes and graceful figures, they were likely a pair of sisters. Looking back at the 2 things in his arms, what kind of trash were they? Thinking this, Daimubai started to have his own little schemes. He hadn't managed to get that pair of top-tier beauties 2 years ago, so surely he wouldn't be as unlucky this time. Besides, looking at the clothes of the young man with his back to him, there was nothing special about them. He was probably just a merchant with a bit of money. Hey, kid, I advise you to hand over that pair of sisters beside you to me. Otherwise, don't blame your grandpa Dai for being impolite. Zhu Zuqing equals Omega smiley face M. Zhu Zuyun equals Omega smiley face M. Fu Yi 011 plus O. Chapter 74. The Zhu sisters beat up Daimubai. Are you coming to provoke me again? It seems the lesson I gave you 2 years ago wasn't profound enough. You've forgotten me so quickly. Listening to Daimubai say words that were exactly the same as 2 years ago, Fu Yi felt his hands getting itchy again. At this moment, Daimubai just felt like this voice was so familiar, but for the life of him, he couldn't remember who it was. However, at this very moment, Zhu Zuqing turned her head, looking back at the person she had bitterly waited for 5 years. Upon seeing Zhu Zuqing's heaven-defying looks and figure, Daimubai's gaze was instantly glued to her. You have to understand, he had played with so many girls over the years, but this was his first time seeing such a top-tier girl. Oh. Ouch. Just like 2 years ago, Daimubai pushed away the twin sisters in his arms and then feigned being very gentlemanly as he walked towards Zhu Zuqing. Fu Yi didn't make any moves at this moment because he knew very well what Daimubai was about to experience. Zhu Zuyun was observing her younger sister out of the corner of her eye. She clearly knew that although Daimubai wasn't very old, he should currently possess the combat power of a high-level spirit elder, and his strength was far beyond what Zhu Zuqing could handle. Master, do you know him? Because she had been branded with a slave mark by Fu Yi, Zhu Zuyun could only address Fu Yi as master and could not disobey any of his wishes. Upon hearing Zhu Zuyun's words, Fu Yi smiled gently, then naturally placed his hand on her shoulder, pinching her cheek while speaking. 2 years ago, I brought my younger sister and little apprentice here to rest, but he set his sights on them, so I broke all the bones in his body to punish him. However, it seems he didn't learn his lesson back then. Zhu Zuyun seemed to have never been in such intimate contact with a man before, and a flush quickly rose on her cheeks. So, my little servant, do you know him? Fu Yi pinched her mounds quite comfortably, but given the effect of the slave mark, she had no way to resist. Master, you're so bad. At this moment, Zhu Zuyun was like a ripe peach, her cheeks burning hot. She knew that in front of Fu Yi, she no longer had any privacy, and the fact that he was only doing this much was already giving her plenty of face. She was also very clear about her own charm. Basically, any man could hardly resist her beauty. He is Zhu Qing's former fiancé. I have met him, but he fled the family when he was 7 years old. Perhaps Zhu Qing escaped because she wanted to find him. After hearing Zhu Zuyun's words, Fu Yi nodded. However, at this moment, the sound of a slap came from Zhu Qing's direction. Slap. A loud, resounding slap landed directly on Daimubai's dog face. Thud. But unexpectedly, this slap from Zhu Qing actually sent Daimubai staggering until he fell into the corner of the wall. Cough, cough, cough. Fu Yi turned his head with Zhu Zuyun to look at the front left of Zhu Qing. At this moment, Daimubai was coughing in the corner. Now, anyone with eyes could see what kind of state he was in. His cheeks were haggard, his lips pale, and his eyes dull. Wasn't this a typical manifestation of excessive indulgence and a very irregular lifestyle? Even Zhu Zujing was stunned to see this scene. Although she had used her full strength, it was impossible to slap a spirit elder away with one hit. My face. Ah, you bitch, how dare you hit this young master? Daimubai stood up staggeringly. It was clear he was extremely angry, to the point that 3 spirit rings, yellow, and purple, lit up behind him. First spirit ability, White Tiger Barrier. Second spirit ability, White Tiger Light Wave. In an instant, Daimubai's body was wrapped in a faint, glowing white barrier, and then a pale yellow ray shot out from his mouth. But after seeing the spirit ability released by the other party, Zhu Zuyun frowned. Why did she feel that the strength of this 3-ring spirit elder Daimubai's spirit ability wasn't even as strong as a normal spirit grandmaster? Spirit possession. First spirit ability, Hell Rush Stab. Zhu Zuqing transformed into a phantom, instantly rushing in front of Daimubai, and then, with lightning speed, tore a crack in the opponent's first spirit ability with one claw. Second spirit ability, Hell 100 Claws. Although the single hit damage of Hell 100 Claws wasn't as high as Hell Rush Stab, it had quantity on its side. Plus, every hit landed precisely on Daimubai's face, which caused the glowing white light on his body to weaken at a speed visible to the naked eye. Ding, ding, ding. Poochie. Finally, Daimubai's first spirit ability was broken, and Zhu Zuqing's claw left a long, narrow scar directly on his face. Ah, my face, my face. Damn it, you really deserve to die. Daimubai never expected that he would actually be disfigured today. You have to know, he relied on this handsome face to pick up girls. Click. Daimubai hardened his hard hand, and during Zhu Zuqing's attacks, forcibly grabbed her wrist. Third spirit ability, White Tiger Vajra Transformation. The third spirit ring behind Daimubai lit up brightly. You have to know that even though the essence within his spirit and his pure bloodline had been extracted by Fu Yi, the strength of a 3-ring spirit elder and the physical boost brought about by the release of a 1,000-year spirit ring had not changed one bit. Even if his spirit was weak, he was still a 3-ring spirit elder who possessed a 1,000-year spirit ring. Seeing this, Zhu Zuqing wanted to retreat quickly. But her wrist had already been tightly gripped by Daimubai, and facing Daimubai's charged attack, she had no way to dodge. Go help your sister. Fu Yi whispered into Zhu Zuyun's ear, then released the arm that had been wrapping around her shoulder. Zhu Zuyun's cheeks were flushed red at this moment, but she knew she had to go save her sister first. Spirit possession. Third spirit ability, Hell Spring Fall. Zhu Zuyun's third spirit ability was not a spirit ability that an agility attack system should have in the traditional sense. Rather, it was a mental attack with certain illusion capabilities, which could pull the attacker's consciousness into an illusion, affecting their consciousness and state. It was a spirit ability with control and interference effects. Almost instantly, Daimubai's consciousness was gradually pulled into the illusion by Zhu Zuyun, the movements of his hands stopped, and the luster in his pupils began to become unfocused. First spirit ability, Hell Rush Stab. Without a word, Zhu Zuyun directly swiped her claw, knocking away the arm Daimubai used to grip Zhu Zuqing. Daimubai had not yet regained his senses at this moment, and because he had the augmentation of his third spirit ability, he only suffered minor injuries. Sister, you. Zhu Zuqing looked at Zhu Zuyun, who had just erupted into action, and felt a complex mix of emotions in her heart. You have to know, her sister had always been hoping for her to die. Chapter 75, Daimubai annuls the engagement. Daimubai was originally a battle spirit master, and his mental force strength was not high. Combined with the fact that his spirit essence and bloodline had been taken away by Fu Yi, and he had spent nearly 2 years recuperating, his mental force was now pitifully weak. As a result, this simple illusion technique from Zhu Zuyun managed to hard control him for quite a long time. Hiss. Regaining his senses, Daimubai's eyes were bloodshot. At this moment, he only wanted to tear her apart. Daimubai's physical condition was extremely poor. There were 3 deep claw marks on his face, a bloody gash on his chest, and the flowing blood had already soaked his clothes. As for the twins he had brought, they had long since been scared off and vanished without a trace. Looking at Daimubai, whose eyes were bloodshot like a primitive beast, a look of disdain appeared on Zhu Zuyun's face, while Zhu Zuqing felt a wave of disgust in her heart after seeing Daimubai in this state. She had not expected that the person she had waited for so bitterly for 5 years would degenerate into such a state, but now these matters were no longer related to her. She had already lost all hope for Daimubai, forcibly seizing women, indulging in lust, and lacking any ambition. Moreover, the other party's spirit seemed to have degenerated because of his depraved life. Daimubai, do you really not recognize who I am anymore? At this moment, Zhu Zuqing spoke up. She wanted to make things clear with Daimubai right now. Who are you? This young master doesn't care who you are. Daring to hurt my face, I will torture you bit by bit and make you wish you were dead. Listening to his words, Zhu Zuqing no longer wanted to say anything, but just then, Zhu Zuyun spoke up. You are just like your older brother, both scum. It's just that your brother is slightly better than you, he doesn't stuff just anything into his mouth. At the very least, he likes to play with young misses from noble families, while you are just wandering around in these disreputable brothels. Zhu Zuyun's words made Daimubai instantly regain his senses, and his eyes even cleared up a bit. My older brother? No, how do you know? Looking at the 2 young girls in front of him, both with stunning figures and appearances, Daimubai's pupils suddenly constricted as if he had realized something. You are, Zhu Qing, then you are, Zhu Zuyun. Daimubai's eyes were filled with terror, but deep down, he was still struggling. No, impossible, how could you possibly come here with Zhu Qing? How could you two possibly be together? This isn't real, it isn't real. Daimubai was now like a true madman. He was unwilling to admit that the people in front of him were his fiancés, nor was he willing to accept this result. There is nothing impossible about it. Daimubai, you probably don't know that Zhu Jing went through a life and death struggle to get here. Zhu Zuyun came to Zhu Jing's side, gently placing her hands on her sister's shoulders, her eyes full of mockery as she looked at Daimubai. Life and death struggle? No, impossible. You are with her, so how could she have? However, before Daimubai could finish his sentence, a voice he was incomparably familiar with reached his ears. This was a voice he never wanted to hear again in his life. Young Master Dai, was the lesson from 2 years ago not profound enough? Or are your bones itching again, and you want me to help you loosen them up? Daimubai looked toward the back of Zhu Jing and Zhu Zuyun, trembling all over, as Fuyi's smiling but not smiling face appeared in his sight. Young Master Dai of Soto City, we meet again. Regarding Daimubai, Fuyi indicated that he would give him the highest level of beating. Today, he not only wanted to kill him but also destroy his heart. Fuyi, no, Master Fu, I didn't. Daimubai stammered for a long time without managing to say a complete sentence, and in the end, he knelt down without any hesitation. Thump. The sound of his knees hitting the ground heavily echoed throughout the hall, and at this moment, the lobby manager was stunned upon seeing this scene. He clearly knew that Daimubai was a spirit elder. To be kneeling on the ground trembling like that, just how big of a background must the person in front of him have? Don't be so eager to kneel. Our accounts from back then haven't been settled yet. Today is a good time to settle them properly with you. One must know that for Flender to have found this place back then, Daimubai must have had something to do with it, otherwise, the other party wouldn't have been able to confirm that he was the person who had beaten Daimubai the moment he saw him. Master, I was wrong, I was really wrong, I beg you, as a magnanimous person. Unfortunately, Fuyi did not want to listen to his rambling, and with one kick, he sent him flying into the wall nearby. Boom. Daimubai, like a dead dog that had lost all hope, lay limp on the ground in a sorry state. Zhu Zuqing and Zhu Zuyun were both filled with astonishment in their eyes after seeing this scene. They hadn't expected that this understated expert actually knew Daimubai as well. Back then you said you wanted to snatch my younger sister and snatch my disciple. Fine, I spared your life, but now you want to snatch the disciple I just took in. Please give me a reason not to kill you. Fuyi's eyes were filled with coldness. He really couldn't understand what kind of trash Shrek Academy was, letting Daimubai out to wander through brothels just after his injuries had barely healed. It was no wonder that Shrek Academy had been open for over 20 years and had taken in so many geniuses, but only 14 had survived. It turned out they didn't impose any constraints on their students at all. But thinking back on their Shrek slogan, those who dare not stir up trouble are mediocre. Tisk tisk tisk, what a great quote for courting death. I will only give you 3 seconds to consider. 3 seconds later, I will slaughter you. 3. Upon hearing Fuyi's words, Daimubai panicked. He was completely panicked. He was still young, he didn't want to die yet. No, he had to live. He must live. 2. 1. Alright, time is up. I let you live for 2 years, but since you refuse to change your ways, I'll just have to send you to your death. Fuyi used his spirit power to directly grab the other party's throat and suspend him in midair in front of him. At this moment, Daimubai's face was full of struggle. He knew that if he didn't make a gesture, he would definitely die. I will annul the engagement with Suqing. Daimubai had pulled out a small red booklet at some point, with 5 gold stamped characters written on it. Star Luo Royal Engagement. Seeing Daimubai's action, Fuyi slightly controlled his spirit power to leave him a sliver of room to breathe. You are quite sensible, but while the death penalty can be avoided, you cannot escape living punishment. Accompanied by Fuyi's whip kick to both sides of his waist, Fuyi knew very well that the other party's reproductive function had been crippled by more than half. But slaughtering Daimubai so early would be, more or less, letting him off too easily. Daimubai now lay slumped in the corner of the hall like a dead dog. Brother Fuyi. Zhu Zuqing looked at the marriage certificate in her hand that had locked her away for 6 years, her eyes still filled with disbelief. Don't call me big brother in the future, you need to change how you address me to master. However, at this moment, Zhu Zuyun also chimed in. What about me? Call me master, because you are just my little slave. Chapter 76, Fuyi's guidance to Zhu Zuyun. Late at night, Zhu Zuyun and Zhu Zuqing were lying side by side on the bed resting. It should be known that they hadn't rested in the same bed for 6 years. Zuqing, do you hate your sister? Zhu Zuyun asked, her expression somewhat vacant. I do. Zhu Zuqing didn't have any affectation. Hearing her sister's words, Zhu Zuyun's face was filled with an indifferent expression. Sigh tilde if you want to hate me, then hate me. We are just pawns of the Star Luo royal family, pawns that can be used as combat power and also as playthings. Zhu Zuyun's beautiful brown eyes flickered with helplessness as she said this. Zhu Zuqing didn't believe her sister even after hearing this, as she had been deeply oppressed by her sister all these years. Sister, the Star Luo royal family is not as harmonious as you imagine. In fact, there are all kinds of frictions within Star Luo every day. I isolated and squeezed you out all these years not because I wanted to hurt you, but because Dai was putting pressure on me. Zhu Zuyun stopped there, then sat up to look at her sister. Sister, I don't ask for your forgiveness, but you must know that I never wanted to hurt you. If possible, I really wish the spirit you awakened wasn't the hell civet. Saying this, Zhu Zuyun got up and changed into the pretty little clothes in her wardrobe. It was just that her figure was too good, to the point where those things couldn't really cover her radiance. A cat's eyesight is excellent at night. Zhu Zuqing sat up when her sister was changing clothes, but when she saw what her sister changed into, she couldn't help but blush. After choosing an outfit that suited her best, Zhu Zuyun walked slowly to Zhu Zuqing's side. She naturally noticed her sister's shy gaze. Sister, what are you? Zhu Zuqing finally couldn't help but speak. Hearing her sister finally willing to call her sister, a gentle smile appeared on Zhu Zuyun's face. Zuqing, you are still young, there are some things you don't understand. We are women, we need to find a backer for ourselves. I am currently just someone's servant, if I am not sensible, I could die. Zhu Zuyun turned and rubbed her sister's little face. Besides, I have never seen a young man capable of killing a high-level spirit emperor with one sword, and he is so handsome. You are still a bit young, so leave this job to sister. After saying that, Zhu Zuyun draped a crimson bedsheet over herself and jumped out the window, leaving Zhu Zuqing messy in the covers. Sister, you. Shush Tilda, don't cause trouble. That night, Fuyi was lying on the bed feeling bored, looking at the bright moon outside. No one could understand his current mood. Rustle. There was a slight tremor at the window. Fuyi released his mental force to cover the surroundings in an instant, but when he sensed the person coming, he was completely stunned. A girl with a beautiful figure and charming appearance came to Fuyi on tiptoes like a cat, draped in a crimson bedsheet. But when Fu Yi saw her attire clearly, he felt his nose heat up, but he directly used spirit power to seal that touch of crimson in his nasal cavity. Master, am I beautiful? Zhu Zuyun arrived in front of Fu Yi instantly like a spicy little wildcat. Sensing Fu Yi's stunned and surprised gaze, a triumphant smile appeared on the corner of Zhu Zuyun's mouth. Seeing your expression so calm, could it be that I am not beautiful enough? Zhu Zuyun walked slowly to Fu Yi with lotus steps, the hazy moonlight becoming dreamlike at this moment. Looking at Zhu Zuyun's posture, which seemed to want to handle him, Fu Yi just revealed a faint, inexplicable smile. Woman, do you know that you are playing with fire? Since this servant can light it, I naturally have a way to extinguish it. Midday. Zhu Zuyun current favorability 36%. Zhu Zuyun current favorability 35%. Zhu Zuyun current favorability 25%. 4 a.m. Zhu Zuyun current favorability 50%. Zhu Zuyun current favorability 60%. 8 a.m. Zhu Zuyun current favorability 99%. Zhu Zuyun current favorability 100%. Fu Yi's figure was still steady, but Zhu Zuyun was not in such a good state at this moment. Her cheeks were flushed, and it was obvious that her condition didn't seem very good. Although it was Zhu Zuyun's own initiative, Fu Yi still felt it necessary to care about her physical condition. After all, he was a great gentleman, how could he treat a beautiful lady so roughly? How is it, are you still unconvinced now? Looking at Zhu Zuyun, who was limp on the ground, Fu Yi knew very well that her current combat power was basically zero. However, for a stubborn girl, Fu Yi would still maintain respect for her. Mr. Lu Xuan once said that there's only plowed out land, no tired out oxen. Presumably, the handsome readers here are all the same as him. No, not convinced, if you have the ability, you do. Under the system's prompt, Fu Yi already knew that Zhu Zuyun's favorability towards him had been maxed out, but it was better to keep the slave mark, it felt quite interesting. However, Zhu Zuyun seemed to enjoy this feeling. Thinking this, Fu Yi turned back and retreated into the small quilt. Forget it, let's review the lesson a little more. At noon, Fu Yi sat in the luxurious carriage with a satisfied expression, but Zhu Zuyun looked a bit sluggish at this moment. Zhu Zuqing was sitting opposite Fu Yi and Zhu Zuyun, blushing, keeping her head down, not daring to look at her sister in front of her and this big brother who saved her life. She was a member of the royal family, and her education in certain aspects was much stricter than that of ordinary nobles, so she knew very well what her sister had done last night. The slightly dark circles under her eyes indicated that she hadn't slept peacefully last night. Regarding this, Fu Yi showed a bitter smile. He had many girls, basically all of them were prettier than Zhu Zuyun, but in terms of figure, not one was better than her. However, he seemed to have gone a bit too far today, but it was also because she was too stubborn. Fortunately, it was covered by a black cloth now, otherwise, it would definitely have been enough to make him embarrassed. Chapter 77. The Zhu sisters enter Tianshui. It was not until evening that they managed to arrive at Ningbing City. This was thanks to the fact that Ningbing City was not too far from Soto City, and the luxurious carriage was swift enough. Throughout the journey, Zhu Zuyun held Fu Yi's arm tightly against her towering peaks, the little pink hearts in her eyes refusing to fade away. As for the little girl Zhu Zuqing, seeing that there was plenty of time, she entered a state of cultivation midway. Zhu Zuyun, having regained her composure, began to act up again after seeing Zhu Zuqing cultivating. However, it was limited to kisses and touching. Master, do you like Zuyun? Zhu Zuyun was currently lying in Fu Yi's embrace, her wild brown eyes filled with longing. Little servant, you are overstepping your bounds. As he said this, Fu Yi pressed against her burning lips, tisk. It was unknown how much time had passed, but they finally arrived at their destination for the day, Ningbing City. After resting for the afternoon, Zhu Zuyun was finally able to walk normally. Zhu Zuqing also stopped her cultivation at this time, and looking at her sister's flushed face, she felt a sense of unfamiliarity. One must know that in her impression, her sister kept all men at a distance, but she never expected that she would develop feelings for this big brother Fu Yi who had captured them. We have arrived, follow me. This afternoon in the carriage, he had almost set up a barrier on the spot to take Zhu Zuyun again. After all, she was just too good at stoking the fire, so it was really hard to believe that she was still a virgin. Big brother Fu Yi, where are we going? Zhu Zuqing was a bit confused, but Fu Yi gently patted her shoulder. For the next period of time, you two will study here at Tianshui Academy. After saying this, Fu Yi led the two sisters, Zhu Zuqing and Zhu Zuyun, toward the northern part of the city. The temperature here was a few degrees lower than outside, which made them feel a slight chill, but such a drop in temperature was negligible for spirit masters like them. Tianshui Academy. Tianshui Academy. Zhu Zuqing and Zhu Zuyun were both stunned at this moment. They had naturally heard of the reputation of Tianshui Academy, an academy that only accepted girls, and was also the only one among the 4 elemental academies willing to accept commoners. That's right, one of my little disciples is here at Tianshui Academy. Zuyun, you and Zuqing will study and live here from now on. In return for you being so proactive, I will handle the matters over at Douluo. Zhu Zuqing, Zhu Zuyun, What, you know are. After hearing Fu Yi's words, not only was Zhu Zuyun shocked, but even Zhu Zuqing was startled. The other party actually knew their identities. Isn't it just the Zhu family of the Douluo Empire? I will make a trip there when the time comes. Alright, you two don't need to worry about your own affairs anymore, let's leave it at that. The captain of the Tianshui team, Shui Binger, and Shui Wu were the same age as Zuyun. I believe you all should get along well. He knew very well that the little girl Wu Ling had already become fast friends with the girls here. As for Xiao Wu, she had also received unanimous praise from the Tianshui team over the past 2 years. One must know that Xiao Wu had been cultivating for tens of thousands of years, and her insights and understanding of cultivation were far, far superior to the average titled Douluo. While her verbal guidance might be a bit strenuous for spirit saints or spirit Douluos, teaching spirit ancestors and spirit elders like Shui Binger was completely effortless for her. Inside Tianshui Academy. Fu Yi gently put down Zhu Zuqing and Zhu Zuyun. Since it was already night, he couldn't disturb the normal cultivation and rest of the students, so he simply climbed over the wall to enter. His arrival immediately caught the attention of the limit Douluo, Luerlong. Almost instantly, she appeared in front of Fu Yi, but when she saw clearly that it was Fu Yi who had returned, she gave him a bear hug, followed by a very aggressive, passionate kiss. The two sisters, Zhu Zuyun and Zhu Zuqing, watched this scene with shocked expressions. They didn't know how this beautiful woman in front of them had appeared, but judging by her attitude toward big brother Fu Yi, it seemed their relationship was not shallow at all. After the passionate kiss, Luerlong turned her head to look at Zhu Zuyun and Zhu Zuqing standing beside Fu Yi. Bad guy, having me and little sister Xiao Wu isn't enough for you. Lu Erlong said this while walking over to the side of Zhu Zuqing and Zhu Zuyun. At this moment, she sized up the two who looked so alike, a hint of playfulness flashing in her fiery red eyes. She gently pinched Zhu Zuyun's little cheek, then whispered in her ear. If this bad guy bullies you again, just tell me, and I'll help you punish his crimes. Saying this, Lu Erlong hugged Zhu Zuyun's delicate body with the air of a big sister. Lu Erlong's words in this sudden scene left Zhu Zuyun feeling a bit confused. Big sister, aren't you angry with me? Zhu Zuyun was very puzzled. Wasn't having one's man snatched away by someone else a very infuriating thing? Why would I be angry with you? This guy is too strong. Even a limit Douluo like me and a super Douluo like little sister Xiaowu can't handle him, so the more sisters there are, the more the burden is shared. Lu Erlong murmured in Zhu Zuyun's ear, speaking in a voice that only Zhu Zuyun could hear. A limit Douluo. The red-haired girl in front of her actually said she was a limit Douluo. Hearing this information, Zhu Zuyun was stunned on the spot, and the other party said Fu Yi was very strong. He really was strong. But she quickly regained her senses, looking at the girl beside her with a bit of confusion in her eyes. Then why are you so sure it's me? Couldn't it be my sister? Zhu Zuyun was very puzzled. Even though both she and her sister had peerless figures and looks, why was the other party so certain it was her? Little sister, you don't understand. That bad guy Fu Yi isn't interested in little girls like your sister who haven't fully blossomed yet, nor is he interested in the common, gaudy women outside. Back then, I met him when I was 15, but it wasn't until I was 19 that I used forceful means to get him. Lu Erlong just kept on talking endlessly to Zhu Zuyun about how things were back then. Upon hearing Lu Erlong imparting her experience, Zhu Zuyun immediately took out a small notebook, ready to record it. However, at this moment, Fu Yi ruthlessly covered her mouth with a large hand. MMPH, MMPH, MMPH. Fu Yi really didn't dare to let Lu Erlong continue. After all, the little cabbage that was Zhu Zuqing was still here, blushing and bubbling with embarrassment. He couldn't let her hear too many intimate details. You're still the same crazy girl from back then, nothing has changed. Play, you're the man I spent so much effort to get, what's wrong with talking about it a bit? Zhu Zuyun, PWQ. Zhu Zuqing, 0*30. 2.5 minutes later. This is where you sisters will rest from now on. You could consider it a newly renovated detached apartment, it's just right for 2 people to live in. Lu Erlong looked at the vacant double apartment here and nodded with satisfaction. From now on, you will train with the members of the Tianshui team. Group training starts promptly at 9:45 tomorrow morning. If you want to replace sleep with cultivation, there's also a full set of mimetic cultivation grounds on the east side of the academy. Upon hearing Fu Yi's words, a bright light flashed in Zhu Zuqing's eyes. This kind of place for rapidly improving strength was exactly what she needed. However, thinking about it carefully now, it seemed she didn't need to cultivate so desperately anymore. After Zhu Zuqing and Zhu Zuyun entered the apartment, Lu Erlong's eyes, as she looked at Fu Yi, were filled with intense heat. What, do you want me to be the Dragon Knight again? Hee, not necessarily. This time, I'll be the evil dragon, and I want the knight. Chapter 78 Tang Chuan absorbs a 1-year spirit ring from a long-haired pig. As the first ray of sunlight pierced through the layers of clouds and mist, spilling onto this mysterious land, the entire world seemed to awaken from its slumber. The undulating mountains appeared faintly in the morning light, like sleeping giant beasts, emitting a powerful and mysterious aura. Looking down from the high building, one could see blooming ice flowers, with crystal-clear dewdrops shining like gems under the sunlight. Flowers swayed, releasing waves of strange fragrance. On the west side of the academy, a clear stream flowed murmuringly, its water shimmering with silver light under the sun, like a cheerful silver snake. It was 7 o'clock in the morning. Xiaowu was currently sleeping soundly beside Fu Yi, while Fu Yi had firmly left his own unique mark on that winding Dao. Yin Yang. At this moment, Fu Yi was still battling the evil dragon. Holding his divine artifact, he was locked in an inseparable struggle with the evil dragon's abyss. According to the latest battle report, the evil dragon still showed no signs of giving up. Evil dragon, will you not surrender yet? Do not seek your own death. Tactical lean back. Fu Yi looked at the disheveled red evil dragon in front of him and issued his final warning. Even if you are a dragon knight, so what? The dragon clan shall never be slaves. On the other side, inside the ice and fire Yin Yang well. A young man in tattered clothes, with an ugly appearance and a jade green mark between his eyebrows, was currently trembling as he watered flowers and plants on the wasteland. Because behind him stood a stunningly beautiful young girl with golden hair and blue eyes, who was holding a long whip and staring at him with impatience. Swish. Crack. Ow. With one lash, the clothes on the ugly youth's back were torn open again, and the wounds on his back that had already been slowly scabbing over were now ripped open again by the strike. Hurry up, daring to trespass in my grandfather's herb garden, and even wanting to disrespect and act improperly towards this young miss, not slaughtering you is already a huge favor to you. The girl's voice was crisp, but the youth who had been whipped to the ground became even slower in his movements due to the lash. Swish. Crack. Ow. Ah. Swish. Crack. Ah. Stop hitting me, I'll speed up, That's right, the person taking the lashes was none other than the ruthless man who had come to this ice and fire Yin Yang well 2 years ago, planning to plunder the immortal herb, enslave Du Gubo, and force himself upon Du Guyan. He was the reincarnation of the God King, Tang Chuan. However, the direction of events did not seem to be going the way he wanted. Not only did he fail to find a single immortal herb in this vast ice and fire Yin Yang well, but he was also caught red-handed by the grandfather and granddaughter duo, Du Gubo and Du Guyan. Just when he proudly stated Du Gubo's illness and said that to cure it, Du Guyan had to be betrothed to him, Du Gubo directly forced a drop of his natal deadly poison into the center of his forehead, treating him as a lowly herb slave. The antidote to alleviate the poison was with Du Guyan. She gave him 1 pill every day to ensure he wouldn't die from the deadly poison. What an ugly toad, actually daring to have ideas about this young miss. Work faster, otherwise, I'll have my grandfather remove your limbs later. Listening to Du Guyan's words, Tang Chuan just wanted to find a piece of tofu to crash into and die. Everything had changed. The illness on Du Gubo's body was actually different from his previous life, other than some negligible trace amounts of poison remaining, there was absolutely nothing wrong with him. And looking at the other party's demeanor, it seemed they had already found a way to get rid of the poison's disturbance. At this discovery, he was so angry he just wanted to curse. First, there was that young man who appeared inexplicably and took away his 2 wives from his past and present lives, and then there was this inexplicably cured deadly poison of Du Gubo. Moreover, he could feel that both Du Guyan and Du Gubo had the aura of an immortal herb on them. They had actually both consumed an immortal herb. You must know that in his previous life, in order to make Douluo willingly work for him, he had deliberately destroyed all the herbs that could cure his illness and then used the slowest and most ordinary method to keep him alive. Because he knew very well that the simpler and more effective the method, the more Douluo would look down on him, so he set a trap for Douluo. And in over half a year, he had indeed swindled the other party's friendship, and later managed to have him kill most of the spirit masters of the spirit hall to reduce the pressure on himself. At the same time, this was the best result for him. The infamy would only fall on Douluo, and not on him, the famous sea god. In his previous life, under his design, Douluo died on the eve of the Great War, and almost all the high-level combat power on the continent died in that god battle. This was also to lay a solid foundation for the future development of the tank sect he founded. Swish. Crack. Oh, ah. Hurry up, do you still want the antidote or not? Du Guyan lashed her whip directly onto Tang Chuan's ugly face, and this lash directly made Tang Chuan's already ugly face look even more ghastly. But Du Guyan did not notice that Tang Chuan's expression had turned sinister at this moment. Kid, are you tired of living? How dare you look at my precious granddaughter with that kind of gaze? That's right, Du Guyan didn't see it, but Du Gubo, who had gone out to catch a few century-old spirit beasts for a snack, happened to see it. Senior, Crack, Du Gubo, this level 94 title Douluo, flicked his hand lightly, and Tang Chuan was sent flying directly. At this moment, Du Gubo was glowing with health, his originally jade green hair had now almost entirely turned into a healthy black, and his entire demeanor was like that of a young man in his early 20s. Grandfather, Du Guyan saw her grandfather return and immediately dropped the long whip and ran over. Hey, Yan Yan. Hollow down pointing triangle, Du Gubo never lacked affection for his granddaughter. His son and son-in-law died early, and his granddaughter was more important than his own life now. Grandfather, he ruined my flower garden. I asked him to restore it for me, but now he is always slacking off. Du Guyan looked at her grandfather with a face full of grievance, and how could Du Gubo, this top-tier grandfather, tolerate anyone bullying his little granddaughter? Kid, I remember when you first arrived, you stole and ate 2 of my newly planted spiritual plants. Now you seem to have reached level 30, right? A trace of mischievousness flashed in Du Gubo's eyes. The other party was indeed very talented, but he actually had designs on his residence in Yan Yan. This was something he absolutely could not tolerate. Senior, you. After hearing Du Gubo's words, Tang Chuan thought Du Gubo had changed his mind and wanted to recruit him, this genius. I see you've been doing odd jobs here for over a year, and plus I'm in a pretty good mood today, so I've decided to give you a top-grade spirit ring. I wonder if you are willing to accept it. Du Gubo said this very solemnly, and Du Guyan, seeing her grandfather's sanctimonious appearance, immediately covered her mouth and giggled. She knew very well that her grandfather was only at his best when he was usually fierce, but once he started becoming serious, he was mostly about to start scamming people. Yes, I am willing. Tang Chuan started to get excited. A top-grade spirit ring. How could a spirit ring that could make Du Gubo, this super Douluo, say the word, top grade, be bad? And this also meant that Du Gubo had now begun to accept him. When he became Du Gubo's son-in-law in the future, then. However, before he could fantasize for long, Du Gubo threw a small, hairy piglet towards him. A spirit ring from a long-haired pig that was born less than a year ago, it is definitely top grade. However, don't be in a rush to refuse, because the result of refusing is death. Chapter 79, Top-Tier Yoga Technique. In the quiet Tianshui Academy training room, sunlight gently spilled onto the floor through the floor-to-ceiling windows, as if draping the space in a dreamy veil. They closed their eyes slightly, stretching their bodies elegantly. Every movement was like a butterfly dancing, light and agile. That's right, this was the good stuff Fuyi had taken from the system, top-tier yoga technique. This was different from the yoga on Blue Star that only improved one's figure. According to the system, this top-tier yoga technique seemed to have originated a millennium ago, but for unknown reasons, its legacy was lost afterward. It allowed cultivators to widen their meridians in a short period and increase their cultivation speed, though this widening was temporary. This was also a good item he had stumbled upon while browsing the system mall. At this moment, Fuyi was sitting gently behind Han Rian. As the academy dean, Han Rian shouldn't have been cultivating with the students, but she was genuinely interested in this yoga. Big brother Fuyi, after finishing this set of movements, I feel like the circulation of my spirit power has sped up quite a bit. A hint of excitement and a blush appeared on Han Rian's beautiful cheeks. She had to keep in mind that this was the first time she had been this close to a man. Compared to Han Rian's excitement, there was a trace of dissatisfaction in Fuyi's eyes. After all, the effect this yoga could achieve was far greater than what Han Rian was currently experiencing. Your movements aren't very standard. Although the set of movements just now temporarily opened some of the acupoints in your body, at most, it was only a semi-finished product. As for Han Rian calling him big brother, Fuyi didn't refute it. After all, she called Lu Erlong big sister, and by normal standards, he should be over 40 years old, but his age had been locked. Ah, is that so? But I do feel that the flow of spirit power in some places is a little bit obstructed. Han Rian understood the reason immediately after hearing Fuyi's words. Let me teach you, that's the only way to learn faster. Fuyi leaned forward and instantly arrived beside Han Rian. Erlong, Xiaowu, Wuling, Zuqing, Binger, the 9 of you, watch carefully. I will demonstrate with Dean Rian for you. As long as this top-tier yoga technique is practiced correctly, it will open up various acupoints in the body within half an hour. Although it's not a permanent opening, it can last for a day, and your cultivation speed will increase by 50 to 100% during this period. Upon hearing Fuyi's words, the 9 girls' eyes were filled with excitement. A 50 to 100% increase in cultivation speed. Of course, Xiaowu and Lu Erlong were only interested in the movements themselves. Rian, I'm starting. MN. O asterisk hollow down pointing triangle O. Fuyi stood behind Han Rian, his body fully pressed against her back. He gently grasped her wrists with both palms, performing various yoga movements that were most effective for opening acupoints, all under the careful and curious gazes of the others. Han Rian's current affection level, 83%. Hearing the system's voice, a smile appeared at the corner of Fuyi's mouth. The secret to the yoga was to forcibly open various acupoints in the body through various movements, much like opening up the extraordinary meridians. However, this yoga could only open the acupoints for about a day, but fortunately, it could be opened an unlimited number of times. As long as one's physical strength could keep up, one could increase their cultivation speed. Fuyi's technical guidance lasted for nearly half an hour, and Shui Binger, Xiao Wu, and the other 8 were constantly trying the high-difficulty movements that Fuyi was guiding Dean Rian to perform. Before long, Han Rian was drenched in fragrant sweat, and steaming heat was rising from her body. This was the manifestation of having opened the acupoints. In this state, a spirit master's energy would be consumed rapidly, but the cultivation speed would increase significantly. To prevent a depletion of energy, Fu Yi had prepared many nutritious meals for them before the training. Alright, I have helped you open 99% of the acupoints on your body, now, only the final step remains. Han Rian's sweat soaked through her clothes, and her entire face looked flushed. At this moment, she felt a bit dizzy and stumbled, falling onto Fu Yi. The little Pengbu that Fu Yi had been suppressing for half an hour finally couldn't help but rise up to meet the dark sky. Han Rian seemed to notice something unusual. Her beautiful large blue eyes seemed to dodge, but she ultimately didn't make any other moves. Seeing this, Fu Yi guided the Tianshui Academy Dean, Han Rian, through a few more high-difficulty movements, while the posture of little Pengbu opening the sky became increasingly arrogant. Han Rian's current affection level, 87%. Accompanied by the sound of the system, Fu Yi directly guided Han Rian to perform the final high-difficulty movement. At this moment, Fu Yi supported himself with his hands on the ground, facing upward to form an arch. Han Rian was lying on him, seemingly feeling a bit ashamed, her cheeks even redder than before. Bang! Han Rian only felt a muffled sound come from within her body, and after the muffled sound, she felt that her meridians seemed even clearer than before. MN. Fu Yi's little Pengbu was now pressed tightly against Han Rian's back. That powerful figure made this dean, who advocated not liking men, blush to her eyebrows. Alright, Dean Rian, I trust you have grasped the essence of opening the acupoints. From now on, you can be the one to teach Xiaowu and Erlong. Han Rian was only 1.63 meters tall. In front of Fu Yi, who was a big guy of 1.85 meters, she looked as petite as a lily. Fu Yi stroked her ice blue hair as if coaxing a little girl, a scene that stirred the envy of the other 8 women present, excluding Xiaowu and Lu Erlong. Han Rian's current affection level, 90%. Big brother Fu Yi, can you come and help Yuer train? Yuer feels there are still many places she doesn't quite understand. Just then, Shui Yuer waved at Fu Yi in a cute manner. What could Fu Yi do? They were all his students. Since they had asked, he could only teach them some standard, instructive movements. The flexibility of Shui Yuer and the others wasn't as good as Dean Han Rian's, so their movements were mostly stiff. In response, Fu Yi prepared to conduct a round of flexibility training for them. One must know that the girls who became spirit masters in Douluo Continent generally had excellent physical conditions. Coupled with the daily nourishment of spirit power, this gave their bodies greater extensibility and plasticity. A quarter of an hour later, Fu Yi was currently sitting face to face with the little girl Shui Yuer, though the expression on her face was slightly painful. That's right, Fu Yi was helping her train for the splits. The Tianshui Academy uniform consisted of a uniform ice blue outfit, white silk gloves, and special stockings that were white with a hint of cutout patterns. These stockings had the advantage of being breathable while also being able to shape the legs. Shui Yuer was currently lying directly in front of Fu Yi, and Fu Yi was helping her spread her legs and complete the split training. Still the Yuer's legs are a bit painful from the pressure. Shui Yuer's expression held a trace of pain, just like an ordinary dance trainee. In flexibility training, painful memories were absolutely inevitable. Be good, little Yuer. Only by adapting to this intensity can you, like your dean, use the yoga to open various acupoints. In the future, it can double your cultivation speed. Just consider it a small sacrifice for the sake of cultivation. Chapter 80. Ning Rongrong comes to enroll at Tianshui Academy. Days passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, a month had gone by. Early in the morning, Fu Yi awoke from his slumber. Today was the final day of recruitment for Tianshui Academy this year. At this moment, Fu Yi was still holding a large cat maid in his arms. Her cheeks were flushed with a rosy hue. Feeling her movements in his embrace, Fu Yi knew that she was full. As a man with excellent time management skills, he naturally arranged his girls' schedules perfectly. Monday was for Spirit Hall to accompany Bibi Dong, Tuesday was for Fun at Moon Pavilion with Yuehua, Wednesday was for Stardew Great Forest to accompany Awu and Ayin, and Thursday was for Lu Erlong and Xiaowu. Today was Friday, and since there were no classes for the next 2 days, Zhu Zuyun, this large cat, had been happily occupied by Fu Yi from yesterday afternoon until now. Although Zhu Zuyun was still technically a servant in his home, in Fu Yi's heart, she was already his woman. After all, the servant thing was just part of the play between them. Seeing that he still had 2 days of free time every week, he wondered if he was being too restrained. Thinking of other transmigrators who had 10 girlfriends by the age of 8, he was already 21 and only had 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 girlfriends. Hollow square, huh? Was that a bit too few? Fu Yi leaned over, brought his mouth close to Zhu Zuyun's ear, and whispered. This is a vicious beast level hell white tiger torso spirit bone. Consider it a reward for being my little servant these past few days. For Zhu Zuyun, Fu Yi was not planning to max out her talent immediately. Just as mentioned before, this was part of the play between the two of them. Zhu Zuyun was so exhausted that she couldn't speak. She had been enjoying herself with Fu Yi for a day and a night. Both her body and mind were telling her that she needed to rest now. Fu Yi placed the spirit bone in her arms, then summoned a limit Douluo level pup attack as a guard, placing it within her shadow. After getting dressed, he stepped out of his bedroom with a light gait. After all, Zhu Zuyun shared a dormitory with Zhu Qing, so he couldn't very well do that with Zhu Zuyun in front of Zhu Qing. That would be awkward. As for whether Zhu Qing knew about his affair with Zhu Zuyun, she certainly did. After all, he had never hidden these things from Zhu Qing. For instance, he had taken her sister away right in front of her. But knowing was knowing, it wasn't a big deal. Maidens are precious, lawless or even more so. If beauty is what one seeks, both can be cast aside. Fu Yi deeply loved mature, sexy girls, was passionate about cute lawless, and adored beautiful young maidens. He was a veteran lecher. Of course, maidens would eventually mature, turning into the appearance Fu Yi loved most. The entrance to Tianshui Academy was exceptionally lively today. Shui Binger and Shui Wu, the captain and vice captain, were helping with recruitment there, while Lu Erlong, Han Rian, and Xiaowu were sitting in the back overseeing things chatting. It's big brother Fu Yi. Shui Yuer, who had been standing behind her sister helping, dashed over and threw herself into his arms the moment she saw Fu Yi walking towards them. Oof. Feeling the bear hug from this little girl, Shui Yuer, Fu Yi gently stroked her little head. Big brother Fu Yi, there are still parts of the yoga you taught me that I don't quite understand. Could you teach me a few more times? Shui Yuer grabbed Fu Yi's arm like a total fangirl, rubbing her little face against his palm. Seeing this, Han Rian walked straight up to Shui Yuer, who was still acting silly and taking advantage of Fu Yi, and lifted her up. Yuer, if you don't understand something about yoga, you can come and ask your academy dean's sister here. There's no need to trouble your instructor Fu Yi. Afterward, Han Rian placed her next to Shui Binger, amidst Shui Yuer's unhappy gaze. Meanwhile, the 4 members of the Tianshui team, including her sister Shui Binger, were peeking at her from the corners of their eyes and covering their mouths to giggle. Shui Yu current favorability, 95%. Shui Binger current favorability, 92%. Shui Wu current favorability, 94%. Shen Luyu current favorability, 93%. Yu Haro current favorability, 95%. Han Rian current favorability, 95%. Zhu Jing, closing square bracket. Wu Ling, closing square bracket. Looking at these little girls all having favorability ratings over 90, Fu Yi felt satisfied from the bottom of his heart. As for Wu Ling and Zhu Jing, they were still too young to be handled. After all, this was all favorability he had earned over the past 2 years through his charisma. As the saying goes, 3 women make a drama, and here there were 6. But no matter what they were thinking, Fu Yi was in no rush. Author, if you don't collect more women, no one will read this, and I'll be left drinking the northwest wind, and you won't fare any better. Fu Yi, mission accepted. Author current favorability, minus 99%. Master Fu Yi, Wu Ling wants a hug too. Just then, the little girl Wu Ling ran over to Fu Yi's side, opening her fair, tender little hands to ask for a hug. Little Wu Ling is the best. Wu Ling leapt up and hugged Fu Yi tightly. Then, without Fu Yi noticing, she made a face at Shui Yu and the others, as if to say, see. Master spoils me the most. With the little girls acting silly, time flew by. In the blink of an eye, it was almost time for Tianshui Academy's recruitment to end. Recruiting once a year for 3 days at a time, Tianshui Academy had a capitalist like Luo along behind it pouring in money, so the quality of education was guaranteed. But to Fu Yi's surprise, he saw a very familiar figure. Phew, tilde Shui Wu, we can finally clock out. Watching the sun gradually setting, Shui Binger stretched lazily. PFF, Binger's sister is so mean. You clearly said you wouldn't compete with me for Instructor Fu Yi, but you ended up pulling Instructor Fu Yi aside all by yourself for special yoga training. Shui Wu's face was full of unhappiness as she gently pinched Shui Binger's delicate cheek with fingers as white as jade. Hee, but big brother Fu Yi is definitely mine. I'll make you all so jealous. Shui Wu looked at her good sister triumphantly, as if declaring ownership. However, before Shui Binger could speak, a crisp voice came from not far away. Wait, sisters, wait a moment. A girl dressed in a small green dress could be seen running towards Tianshui Academy. It was clear her pace was quite hurried. Fu Yi, who had been preparing to leave, also noticed the situation. That little witch Ning Rongrong is here too. Oh, right, that old fox Ning Fengji seems to have mentioned it to me a year ago. Chapter 81, Dean Han Rian's late night invitation. Little sister, don't be in such a rush. We sisters haven't left yet, so why not rest for a moment first? Watching the little girl panting in front of her, Shui Binger couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy. How could such a beautiful young girl come to report here all by herself? The world outside is so chaotic right now, what if she encountered danger? Rongrong, you're here too. Upon seeing that the newcomer was Ning Rongrong, Wu Ling exclaimed in surprise. Wu Ling, you really are here too. The two little girls, who had met once 2 years ago, hugged each other tightly. It was evident that they were both happy to see one another again. After the excitement subsided, Ning Rongrong began to introduce herself to the sisters around her. Hello, sisters, my name is Ning Rongrong. My spirit is the 7 treasure glazed tile pagoda, and I am a level 27 support system tool spirit master. ... Omitted. Brother Fu Yi, is this where I'll be living from now on? Ning Rongrong curiously examined the dainty, blue-colored small apartment in front of her. It wasn't very large, a 2-story small building covering about 100 square meters, and it was one of Tianshui Academy's luxury double rooms. Yes, this will be your dormitory from now on. Wu Ling lives here too, so the two of you can keep each other company. Just then, Wu Ling, who had returned early to tidy up the room, walked out of the small building. Hee, come quickly, Sister Rongrong. The beds are all made, and we'll sleep together tonight. Saying this, Wu Ling pulled the little girl Ning Rongrong back inside to catch up. Although they had only met for a single day previously, they were each other's first good friend. They are such a group of cute children. Standing beside Fu Yi, Han Rian couldn't help but sigh with emotion as she watched the two little girls, Wu Ling and Ning Rongrong. Yes, but little Wu Ling's childhood wasn't very pleasant. Her father was a selfish noble, and her mother was merely a servant in her father's household. Hearing Fu Yi say this, Han Rian became interested, and as they walked, she started chatting with him. Then how did you meet this cute little girl, Wu Ling? It was a matter of opportunity, I suppose. She was 6 years old and being hunted by a group of noble students, and I just happened to be passing by. Fu Yi shook his head. He truly didn't understand the chaotic world of the Douluo Continent. Then how did you meet Sister Along? Before you arrived, I heard Sister Along talking about you every single day. At this moment, Han Rian was like a curious baby. She was genuinely curious about how her sister had managed to win over such a perfect man as Fu Yi. Guess. ODO. Shortly after, Han Rian arrived at her residence first. It was a detached villa near the western teaching area, surrounded by trees and bamboo groves, creating a very quiet and elegant environment. Watching her fair, jade-like feet step onto the stairs leading to her home, Fu Yi prepared to head back to rest, but just then, she called out to him. Big brother Fu Yi, would you like to hear my story? Han Rian looked back at Fu Yi, her ice blue eyes showing a hint of evasion, though her gaze quickly became firm. Oh, I'm all ears. Upon hearing Fu Yi's reply, Han Rian nodded gently. Then come inside and sit for a while. As Fu Yi stepped into the small villa, an air of grandeur and elegance greeted him, yet it was strangely blended with cuteness and simplicity, making one feel very comfortable. The high ceiling design in the center gave the space a great sense of openness, and small but numerous crystal chandeliers hung in the middle of the room like bright stars, casting a soft and brilliant light. The floor was covered with a blue carpet featuring exquisite patterns, making one feel very refreshed. On the ice blue sofa, a few solid-colored throw pillows were placed casually, adding a touch of cuteness to the elegance. Fu Yi sat down on the soft, comfortable sofa without hesitation, while Han Rian brewed a pot of good tea and placed it on the glass coffee table in front of them. Big brother Fu Yi, do you know, I really envy Sister Along. After returning to her little nest, the solemn and serious aura that Han Rian usually carried had completely faded away, because only at home did she not think about work-related matters. In fact, I am the strongest genius in our family, but when I was 10, my father chose a husband for me whom I did not like, though his talent was decent. I once hoped he would treat me with wholehearted devotion, but things turned out otherwise. At this point, Han Rian paused, then fixed her gaze on Fu Yi's face. He was an extremely unfaithful man. It would have been one thing if he just had an ambiguous relationship with his cousin, but later he was caught in the act of having a tryst with a prostitute, with whom he had even fathered a child. As she said this, a self-deprecating smile appeared on Hanryeon's face. I hate my family because I saw with my own eyes how they killed my 6-year-old cousin, simply because she had no innate spirit power when her spirit awakened. In the eyes of those elders, she had no value to be utilized. But I was only 7 at the time, and she was my only friend. Hanryeon and Fuyi chatted for a long time about how she escaped from her family, founded Tianshui Academy, and adopted Shui Binger and the others. Following the stairs upward, the wooden handrail felt warm and smooth. On the wall of the second-floor corridor hung a few minimalist decorative paintings, which were neither flashy nor understated, perfectly accentuating the space. In the bedroom, a spacious and comfortable bed sat in the center, with sky-blue bedding giving a sense of simplicity. By the window sat a uniquely shaped lounge chair, with sunlight streaming through the floor-to-ceiling window onto it, creating a warm atmosphere. Fuyi carried the sleeping Hanryeon and gently placed her on the bed in her bedroom. As a gentleman, a dirty old man, he could not bring himself to take advantage of someone in such a vulnerable state. She had cried so heartbrokenly, to force himself upon her now would not just make him a scumbag but a piece of human trash. But as he placed Hanryeon on the ice-blue bed, he noticed that her expression didn't look right, and her slender, scallion-like fingers were gripping his wrist tightly. Wait, something is wrong. He had excellent control over his desires. If he said he was a gentleman, he would absolutely never take advantage of the situation. But now, why did he feel that his own condition was becoming a bit strange? Chapter 82. Beware of fire, theft, and best friends. However, at this very moment, Fuyi's eyes gradually became clouded. Inside his chaotic brain, only one biological instinctual command remained clear. A second before losing his reason, Fuyi finally realized exactly what was wrong. It was that pot of tea. He, a dignified limit Douluo, the only quasi-god on the continent, had actually been drugged by a spirit Douluo. Damn it. Ryeon, you will regret doing this. Fuyi whispered into Hanryeon's ear, holding on to his last shred of reason. Upon hearing Fuyi's words, Hanryeon also regained some of her senses. I won't regret it. I've been craving your body for more than just a day or two. As Hanryeon said this, she unexpectedly grabbed the remaining half box of small blue pills and shoved half into Fuyi's mouth and half into her own. It's just that I feel quite sorry for my good friend, but love must always be fought for, right? Caught off guard, Fuyi swallowed them all down. You seem to have misunderstood what I meant. But at that moment, Hanryeon's icy blue eyes gradually lost focus, and her gaze became clear, leaving her with no way back. Just watch as the world's highest peak, Mount Everest, air raids the American Pearl Harbor. No one knew what kind of unprecedented catastrophe this would be. Congratulations to the host for capturing Hanryeon. Current favorability is 100%, max favorability locked. Early in the morning, Fuyi's consciousness finally overcame the chaos and reclaimed the high ground of his intellect. Seeing his actions, which were still purely driven by biological instinct, Fuyi felt as if the sky was collapsing. What kind of mess is this? A dignified head of an academy actually doing such atrocious things to a pure, handsome, cute, and charming young man like him. Fuyi's mental force was quite decent. Although he had been fed so many small blue pills by Hanryeon, he regained his senses in just one night. One must know that in the Douluo Continent, there are such special drugs, but most of them are made from 10,000-year whale glue. It can be said that it is a special tonic that can increase cultivate speed. But more often, they have a strong aphrodisiac effect, and these heaven and earth treasure are basically monopolized by those nobles to satisfy their own selfish desires. Fuyi looked back at Hanryeon, whose eyes were still clear, looking as if she were not very bright, and leaned over to her ear to whisper a question. My commander Hanryeon, are you convinced or not? For this opponent who had fought hundreds of rounds with him, Fuyi expressed his respect. Upon hearing Fuyi's words, Hanryeon seemed to regain a shred of reason. Blah, blah, blah. Still going with the blah. It seems he was too soft-hearted. What awaited her next would be him in his prime state. The battle lasted for a full day and 2 nights. It wasn't until the next morning, as the sun gradually rose in the distance, that Hanryeon, this admirable commander, finally admitted her defeat. Hey, with your amateur skills, if you want to fight your husband, you'd better raise your strength to title Douluo first. Fuyi got up and carried her to the bathroom. He originally just wanted to teach this woman, Hanryeon, a small lesson, but he didn't expect that not only was her strength lacking, but she was also particularly stubborn. Fuyi conservatively estimated that she wouldn't be able to get out of bed for 3 to 5 days, even though she was a spirit Douluo. Meanwhile, Lu Erlong, who was sitting on her bed, saw that her best friend and Fuyi had disappeared for over a day and probably guessed something. Little sister Ryeon, welcome to the group. She gave her full support to her best friends joining. This would also lay a solid foundation for their sister group to be able to defeat Fuyi one day in the future. She clearly remembered every time Fuyi rubbed their dignity against the bed, she would sooner or later take revenge for this grudge. If 1 doesn't work, then 2, if 2 don't work, then 4, if 4 don't work, then 8. She didn't believe that she and her sisters couldn't defeat that scoundrel Fuyi fair and square at least once. At noon, Fuyi slowly woke up from his sleep, and the breath of the lovely person in his arms was a bit unstable. How are you feeling now? Fuyi gently hugged Hanryeon's waist. There was an inexplicable fragrance on her body, similar to the scent of vanilla from his past life. At this moment, her face wore a pained expression, and she then directly bit onto Fuyi's forearm. Oh woo. Ow. Fuyi was caught off guard by Hanryeon's bite. Hey, is this how you treat your husband? Fuyi expressed that he was truly speechless. He had worked hard for a day and 2 nights. If there was no credit, there was at least hard work, and if there was no hard work, there was at least fatigue. How could she still bite him? HMPH, you bad guy, is that how you eat? I can't even move now. Hanryeon made a gesture to bite Fuyi again, but was directly pressed into his arms by him. Be good, isn't this all what you, Madam Han, requested? Could it be that you've forgotten the harsh words you said over the past 2 days? Fuyi looked at Hanryeon with a smile that wasn't quite a smile. He had heard plenty of her crude jokes over the past 2 days. Blah, 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 I never said that. Now that you've made me unable to get out of bed, how are you going to compensate me? Hearing this little girl Hanryeon acting shamelessly, Fuyi indicated that he could be even more shameless. Blah, 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 if you have the ability, then screw me to death. HMPH, it doesn't hurt or itch, you're just not convinced. If you have the ability, then make me unable to get out of bed. Fuyi vividly reenacted the tone and various expressions Hanryeon used when she originally said these things, which made Hanryeon blush. In the end, she endured the soreness in her arms and covered Fuyi's lips with her delicate hand. Bad guy, stop talking, hurry up and stop talking, it's so embarrassing. Looking at Han Rion's, I was wrong, expression, Fu Yi knew that his authority as a husband was completely secured. He would always give his wives, who dared to challenge his authority as the head of the household, a chance to challenge him, but the price of being stubborn was very serious. For example, Han Rion, who was currently unable to move. Mwah, Fu Yi kissed his new wife's lips with great satisfaction. Although he had kissed her countless times, how could one ever get tired of such things? Oh my, you bad guy, you have no seriousness. Just at this moment, the tightly closed door was pushed open, and the person standing at the doorway was none other than Luo Long, dressed in red. Upon seeing her best friend push the door open and enter, Han Rion's expression was full of nervousness. After all, she had her best friend's husband. Little sister Rion, how is my brother Fu Yi? Luo Long, like a flame queen, radiated a scorching aura from her whole body. At this moment, Han Rion's eyes darted around, not daring to look at her good friend. However, she saw that Luo Long's eyes, when looking at Fu Yi, carried a hint of triumph. Now it's my turn, my dear brother Yi. Chapter 83, The Rapid Growth of Tian Shui team members. During this period, his relationship with these young girls was gradually heating up. The morning sunlight streamed through the huge floor-to-ceiling windows, gently spilling into the spacious and bright training room. The wooden floor emitted a faint, natural scent, and the mirrors on the walls reflected a tranquil and beautiful space. In this picturesque scene, a group of stunningly beautiful girls were practicing yoga with full concentration. They were wearing form-fitting ice blue yoga outfits, the close-fitting fabric highlighting their perfect body curves. The elegant colors complemented their temperaments, allowing them to remain lively and agile while maintaining their grace. Whether standing, sitting, or stretching, every one of their poses was like a work of art, pleasing to the eye. Their ice blue long hair was tied loosely behind their heads, with a few strands falling beside their cheeks, adding a touch of gentleness and playfulness. Their eyes were clear and focused, as if the entire world had stilled at this moment, with only them and their inner selves conversing. The girls stood with their feet together, back straight, and hands hanging naturally. They took a deep breath and slowly closed their eyes, letting their bodies and minds gradually relax. Following the rhythm of their breathing, they began to adjust their state of mind, casting aside the noise and disturbances of the outside world, focusing their attention on the present moment. However, at this moment, a clear and ethereal voice echoed in the room. Brother Fu Yi, there are still some places that Shui Wu doesn't quite understand. Could you teach me a bit more? Hearing Shui Wu's voice, Fu Yi stood up directly from the podium and walked toward where she was. Seeing this, the other girls felt a flicker of jealousy in their eyes. They should have asked earlier. Where else don't you understand? Do you want me to guide you through it again? Regarding Shui Wu's request for help, Fu Yi, this upright gentleman, declared that he would never let down any girl who asked him for help. Brother Fu Yi, Shui Wu feels that the handling of the details is not yet perfect. Right now, I can only increase my cultivation speed by 80% at most. It was true that Shui Wu had impure thoughts, but it was also true that she wanted Fu Yi to guide her training. Over the past month, she had been practicing this yoga technique every day, and the increase in her cultivation speed had risen from the original 50% to 80%. However, she had yet to reach the peak of full potential. Fu Yi sat gently behind her, and the other girls cast envious glances at her at this moment. Come on, I'll guide you through it once, but make sure to remember it well this time. Fu Yi looked at the young girls around him. Among them, the ones who practiced this top-tier yoga technique the best were undoubtedly Wu Ling, Zhu Zuqing, and Ning Rongrong. After all, the three of them were generally younger, so their flexibility was higher than that of Shui Binger and the others. However, they had not yet reached the most perfect realm, and on a daily basis, they could only increase their cultivation speed by about 90%. As usual, Fu Yi pressed Shui Wu's back against his chest, held her fair little hands, slowly raised them above her head, and then stretched them out to the sides, letting her feel the extension and stretch of her body. Fu Yi's movements were light and fluid, like a dancing butterfly. Then, he guided Shui Wu to slightly bend her knees, lean her body forward, and touch the ground with her hands, forming a perfect forward fold pose. During this process, Fu Yi's breathing remained steady, without the slightest disorder. However, at this moment, Shui Wu's heart was pounding, and her thoughts were racing, but the spirit power within her was very stable. Accompanied by Fu Yi's guidance, she slowly straightened her body, then stood on one leg, lifted the other leg backward, and extended her hands forward to maintain her body's balance. This movement seemed simple, but it required immense concentration and core strength, and the expansion and smooth circulation of spirit power within it were the most critical factors. There was no trace of tension or anxiety on her face, only determination and self-confidence. She slightly adjusted her posture, making her body more stable, as if she had merged into one with the earth. Next, Fu Yi guided her into a more difficult pose. She first supported herself on the ground with her hands, then kicked her legs upward with force, and her body instantly inverted. Her arms steadily supported the weight of her body, her legs were straight, and her toes pointed toward the sky. In this state, she felt the blood rushing backward in the lightness of her body, as if she had turned into a bird flying freely. Relying on his spirit power, Fu Yi stayed pressed tightly behind her. Under Fu Yi's guidance, every one of Shui Wu's movements was very standard, and the acupoints within her body were constantly opening along with their movements. During the process of practicing yoga, Shui Wu's face was always suffused with a flush of red and joy. Under Fu Yi's instruction, her understanding of this top-tier yoga technique seemed to be deeper, and it seemed her relationship with brother Fu Yi had also drawn a bit closer. The yoga technique that Fu Yi taught her allowed her to learn how to converse with her own body and how to listen to the voice of her own body. Who tilde tilde who tilde tilde. I don't know how much time had passed, but her breathing had become a bit heavy. However, she knew that this was the subtlety of this cultivation technique. By consuming a large amount of physical strength, it increased one's cultivation speed in a short period of time. Time passed unknowingly. Fu Yi led Shui Wu to complete the final pose. After this top-tier yoga technique reached full potential, the physical strength consumed would also increase, so now Shui Wu needed to relax her body and mind. Her breathing gradually became slow and deep, and her heartbeat also gradually returned to normal. Shui Wu slowly opened her eyes and looked at Fu Yi, who was holding her in his arms for fear that she might fall. A trace of sweetness and joy filled her heart. Brother Fu Yi, thank you so much. Right in front of her other sisters, Shui Wu threw herself into Fu Yi's arms and, amidst their unhappy gazes, hugged their most beloved teacher Fu Yi tightly. Shui Wu current favorability 98%. Shui Binger current favorability 96%. Shui Yuer current favorability 98%. Zhu Zuqing current favorability 89%. Ning Rongrong current favorability 90%. Wu Ling current favorability 95%. Yu Haro current favorability 97%. Shen Luyu current favorability 97%. Zhu Zuyun favorability 100%. Feeling the warmth and softness in his arms, a faint, imperceptible smile appeared at the corners of Fu Yi's mouth. Shui Wu was the veritable big sister of the Tianshui team, aside from the captain, Shui Binger. Even Shui Binger, as captain, had to follow Shui Wu's arrangements in some aspects. Alright, stop acting like a clown, you little girl. You're almost 19 and still acting like a little kid. Fu Yi stroked her ice blue hair, then released her from his warm embrace under her reluctant gaze. At this moment, he faced all the members of the Tianshui team, as if he had something to announce. In a while, I will take you all to Heavendo Imperial City to register for the Great Spirit Arena competition. You must work hard during this recent period. You must practice the mysterious heaven skill, ghost shadow perplexing step, purple demon eye, and controlling crane catching dragon, these 4 cultivation techniques, diligently and not slack off. Hee, we know, brother Fu Yi, but you also doesn't understand some parts. Chapter 84, Mysterious Tenderness Under the Starry Sky. As night fell, the brilliant starry sky slowly unfurled above like a massive scroll. Countless stars twinkled with mysterious light, as if innumerable eyes in the universe were gazing down upon the earth. Those scattered stars, some bright as diamonds, others faint as fireflies, intertwined to form a vast, boundless sea of stars. The Milky Way was like a shining ribbon. Under this silent starry sky, the world seemed to become exceptionally tranquil. A gentle breeze brushed past, bringing a hint of chill. Leaning back on the sofa and gazing up at the stars, an inexplicable emotion welled up in Fu Yi's heart. It was as if, in this endless universe, his own worries and confusion had become insignificant. The stars silently witnessed the passage of time, their existence was so eternal. The starry sky was the most beautiful gift bestowed upon us by nature, forever intoxicating to behold. In 2 days, Fu Yi would be taking them to the Great Spirit Arena in Heavendo Imperial City for the spirit fighting competition, where he would likely encounter the conceited Imperial fighting team. He just didn't know if that little girl, Du Guyan, would enter Heavendo Royal Academy as she did in the original story. Sigh, he only had himself to blame. Why had he forgotten to bring this little girl over to Tianshui back then? But it wasn't a big problem. At worst, he would just go and greet that old guy, Du Gubo, when the time came. Closing his eyes, he went to sleep. Tonight, Fu Yi seemed exceptionally lonely, though this could only be blamed on his girls, who always tried to challenge his virility. Because they were going to the Great Spirit Arena for the competition, Fu Yi, Han Rian, Xiao Wu, and Lu Erlong discussed and decided to give the 4 little girls a break. Yet, Fu Yi hadn't expected that the 3 of them were actually setting a trap for him. They claimed to be giving Shui Binger and the others a break, but in reality, they wanted to bring in that strategic ally, Zhu Zuyun. They wanted to use human wave tactics to deal with him. However, the outcome was obvious. After the 2-day positional defense battle yesterday and the day before, he had still achieved a complete victory, and the hearts of the 4 girls, filled with expectation, had finally given up. To punish them, Fu Yi had intentionally increased the intensity of the punishment, which resulted in them still being unable to get out of bed even after most of the day had passed. Late at night, everything was silent. The world seemed immersed in a sea of tranquility, with only the occasional rustling of leaves caused by a gentle breeze. Moonlight like water poured onto the earth, draping the entire world in a layer of silvery gauze. In this hazy moonlight, a girl with an ice blue figure appeared quietly. She was like an elf walking out of a dream, carrying a mysterious and elusive beauty. The girl wore an ice blue dress, the hem fluttering gently with the breeze, as if it were flowing like water. That ice blue hue, under the illumination of the moonlight, exuded a cold and enchanting radiance. Her long hair cascaded over her shoulders like an ice blue waterfall, with a few strands dancing lightly in the wind, adding a touch of ethereal beauty to her. Her delicate face appeared exceptionally hazy under the moonlight, her refined features appearing and disappearing. Her eyes were like deep lake water, twinkling with mysterious light, as if hiding endless stories. Her slightly playful pink lips curved upward slightly, bearing a faint, elusive smile, like a flower blooming in the night sky. The girl had arrived at the bedside at some unknown moment, reflecting the elegant moonlight as if she had merged with the entire world. The reflection surrounded by the bright moon outlined her beautiful silhouette. Her figure, in this hazy moonlight, seemed both illusory and real. She lowered her head slightly, looking down at the boy within reach. At this moment, her eyes were filled only with this boy she had missed for over 2 years. Moonlight spilled onto her face, making her skin appear almost transparent. Her gaze was filled with a yearning for the unknown and a longing for beauty. Unconsciously, the girl gently slipped off her small black leather boots. Her movements were light and graceful, like a butterfly dancing. Her dress hem fluttered with her movements, as if it were an ice blue flower in full bloom. Her figure appeared exceptionally graceful under the moonlight, every movement filled with rhythm and cadence. Fu Yi seemed to sense something and slowly opened his eyes, but before he could see who it was, he felt a warm, soft little hand covering his eyes. His originally dry lips were suddenly enveloped by a clear, sweet taste. The pure sweetness entered his throat, a new sensation he had never experienced before. Plop. A faint sound, like a snapping zither string, emanated before him. Silence was the main melody of the night. Warmth pressed against his chest, softness enveloped his heart, and the snapped string tied itself to his spine. Tonight's dance had no musical accompaniment, only the blowing breeze and the illumination of the moonlight. But the dance of that unknown figure was filled with the power of life and the expression of emotion. She used her body language to narrate her love for life and her pursuit of beauty. Under the moonlight of this deep night, these silent dance steps felt like a dreamlike performance. Her figure swayed gracefully in the moonlight, bringing a trace of vitality and energy to this silent world. Her beauty lay not only in her appearance but also in the purity of her heart and her persistence for beauty. As the symphony of life progressed, the girl's figure gradually became illusory. She seemed to merge into the hazy moonlight, becoming a part of this beautiful night scene, but the lightness and willfulness she left behind were deeply imprinted in Fu Yi's heart. Deep night, moonlight, a warm and mysterious silhouette, they constituted a beautiful and hazy scroll. This scroll was filled with mystery, beauty, and emotion, making one intoxicated and unable to extricate oneself. It made Fu Yi feel the charm of nature and the beauty of life, and also filled him with hope and longing for the future. On the other side, inside the ice and fire yin-yang well. A disheveled, bearded, middle-aged man in tattered clothes arrived at this blessed place. Click, click, plop. A sallow, emaciated figure in rags was currently building a wall on this wide, flat ground under the moonlight. However, at this moment, a dark green figure quietly appeared behind the middle-aged man, their eyes filled with hostility. I do not know why your excellency has trespassed into my residence. A middle-aged man dressed in dark green attire appeared behind the other person. Yes, the person who had arrived was none other than Poison Douluo, Gubo. Haha, it is nothing much, I have just come to take my good-for-nothing foster son back. The middle-aged man looked silently at the youth in tattered clothes working over there, then turned his head to look at Gubo. Although all of this was only caused by his own courting of death, and I am well aware of the sequence of events he has already suffered here for over 2 years. I believe the anger in the hearts of your grandfather and granddaughter should have dissipated somewhat by now. The middle-aged man's words shocked Douluo. The other party actually knew so much. Chapter 85. Fatherly love like a mountain. Fatherly kindness and filial piety. Hey, daring to covet my granddaughter in my residence, he will only be my medicine slave for the rest of his life. Douluo did not care who the other party was. He would not let anyone who dared to touch his bottom line off the hook. Douluo, you don't need to be in such a hurry to refuse me. Although Tang Chuan was in the wrong first, I believe he should have realized his mistake by now. Just consider it as giving me some face. The middle-aged man sighed helplessly. He originally didn't want to care about this wild child he had picked up, but unfortunately, every time he came to see him, he would hear the other's screams. Now, however, he felt a bit unable to bear it. After all, he had raised him for 6 years. Although there was no blood relationship, the other party was, in the end, half a son to him. Give you face. I don't feel that someone looking as down and out as you could have any kind of face. Face. Why would he, Douluo, need to give anyone face when doing things? Not to mention that this brat dared to covet his residence and granddaughter. However, just as Douluo's voice fell, an incomparably tyrannical aura emanated from the down-and-out middle-aged man. What about now? That's right, this was God King Tang Chuan's adoptive father, Tang Hao. Yellow, yellow, purple, purple, black, 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 9 spirit rings imbued with terrifying energy appeared before Douluo at this moment. I am not here to argue with you. Tang Chuan certainly had his faults, but he has already been punished by you for over 2 years. I also hope that you, poison Douluo, do not refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Tang Hao's voice became sharp at this moment. After all, he was his adopted son. He couldn't just keep being a medicine slave for Douluo. If word got out, he would lose all his face. On the other side, Tang Chuan, who was still thinking about how to get the antidote and escape, also felt this familiar, tyrannical aura. A ray of wisdom suddenly burst forth from his murky eyes. His dad had come. You are actually a titled Douluo. Douluo only felt a bit dazed at this moment. One had to know that there weren't many titled Douluo in the entire continent, and he had never even heard of one who dressed like a beggar like the other party did. Extract the toxins from Tang Chuan's body, and this matter can be settled amicably. Otherwise, you wouldn't want to be targeted by a titled Douluo, would you? Saying this, Tang Hao directly brought out his spirit, the clear sky hammer that could symbolize his identity. Upon seeing this large hammer, a trace of solemnity flickered in Douluo's eyes. As a veteran titled Douluo, he naturally knew exactly what the other party's spirit was. He saw that the hammer head was huge and cylindrical, the handle was about half a foot long, and the whole body was as pitch black as ink. Its surface was vaguely covered with dense patterns, and its color was deep and dim. It is actually the clear sky hammer. I understand. You can take this thief, Tang Chuan, away. However, if he dares to have any inappropriate thoughts about my granddaughter in the future, even if you were from the clear sky sect, I will not let you off easily. Douluo sighed. He knew that this piece of trash, Tang Chuan, could not be kept today. However, while death could be avoided, living punishment was inevitable. His jade phosphor serpent emperor poison had long since spread from the other's labella to every part of his body. Just at this moment, Tang Chuan ran out from somewhere, and upon seeing Tang Hao, his pitch black eyes were filled with hot tears. Dad. Hearing Tang Chuan's voice, Tang Hao's brows furrowed slightly. After all, this adopted son was simply too good at causing trouble, and the baleful aura on him was too heavy. If he were allowed to grow, he would likely cause him no small amount of trouble in the future. Tisk, troublesome. That's right, the moment he saw Tang Chuan, Tang Hao regretted it a little. He shouldn't have come here. Letting this troublemaker die here quietly didn't seem like a bad thing. Watching Tang Chuan running towards him with snot and tears, Tang Hao felt a wave of nausea. Slap. A loud, resounding slap landed directly on Tang Chuan's face. Bang. Tang Hao's strike was truly not light. One slap sent Tang Chuan staggering, and his already disfigured, ugly face slammed directly into a large tree nearby. You still have the face to call me dad. Our Tang clan's face is about to be completely lost because of you. Looking at Tang Hao's angry expression, Tang Chuan seemed to feel a trace of disbelief. Dad, your son almost died at the hands of this old bastard. How can you? Slap. However, before Tang Chuan could finish his sentence, Tang Hao landed another loud, resounding slap directly on Tang Chuan's ugly face. Thud. Tang Chuan's head hit the tree, and this moment left him completely dizzy and disoriented. You rebellious son, I, your father, worked hard to raise you for 6 years, and you couldn't even stay settled after I sent you to the academy. You even snuck here to be a thief. How did I? Seeing that Tang Hao was about to slap Tang Chuan in the face again, even the ruthless Douluo couldn't bear to watch anymore. Even a tiger does not eat its cubs. The middle-aged man in front of him was clearly going to uphold righteousness by eliminating his own kin. Hey, brother, wait a moment. Although this brat is indeed unruly and truly deserves to die, you are his father, you can't really beat him to death, can you? That's right, Douluo came to break up the fight, even though he also wanted to slaughter this little bastard, Tang Chuan. Don't hold me back. Today, I must let this little bastard know the family law of my clear sky sect. How great was Tang Hao's strength? How could a mage like Douluo possibly hold him back? Thus, a scene of fatherly kindness and filial piety immediately unfolded inside the ice and fire yin-yang well. Tang Chuan, Dad, you shouldn't beat me to death, right? Tang Hao, depends on my mood. Tang Chuan, Dad, I almost died at Douluo's hands. Tang Hao, Tang Chuan, Dad. Tang Hao, stop talking, I just want to slap you right now. The noise here also woke Douluo Yan, who was still in her dreams. She was seen rubbing her sleepy eyes and walking with lotus steps to this clearing. Grandpa, what are you doing in the middle of the night? It's so noisy. Seeing his granddaughter walk over, Douluo hurriedly protected her behind him. He didn't want the flames of war from this father-son fight to affect his granddaughter. It's nothing, Yan, it's just that the father of that little piece of trash, Tang Chuan, has come to beat him. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, it was morning. Tang Chuan, who had passed out, was eventually taken away by Tang Hao, and Douluo thoughtfully removed the natal deadly poison that had remained at Tang Chuan's labella. However, Douluo remained silent about the jade phosphor serpent emperor poison that remained in Tang Chuan's meridians. He believed that in the near future, Tang Chuan would be able to experience the pain he once felt. On the other side, inside Tianshui Academy, a beautiful girl was quietly lying on her side in Fuyi's arms. At this moment, she was like a beautiful painting. Her long blue and white hair was like a waterfall, scattered casually on the pillow, adding a touch of lazy beauty. Her skin was whiter than snow, and under the soft sunlight, it seemed to emit a faint halo, just like a lotus that had just emerged from the water, fresh and pure. Her eyes were lightly closed, and her long, curled eyelashes trembled slightly, as if recounting the stories in her dreams. Her red lips were naturally rosy, and the slightly upturned corners of her mouth carried a faint, imperceptible smile. She slept peacefully on the bed, her whole body exuding a tranquil and charming aura, making one unable to help but be intoxicated by it, unable to bear disturbing this picturesque and beautiful scene. Suddenly, the girl's eyebrows twitched, and her sky-blue eyes slowly opened. Feeling this warm embrace, her cheeks carried a touch of youthful innocence and playfulness. Fu Yi also slowly opened his gilded eyes at this moment, and when he saw the corners of the girl's mouth filled with triumph, he almost couldn't keep a straight face. Shui Wu, you little girl really know how to mess around. Chapter 86, Shui Wu's Initiative, Tian Shui's first entry into the Great Spirit Arena. Current favorability of Shui Wu is 100%, max favorability locked. Congratulations to the host for successfully capturing Shui Wu. Hee, I just simply like brother Fu Yi. In Tian Shui Academy, Shui Wu was equivalent to Ning Rongrong in Shrek Academy in the original story, a veritable queen of dirty jokes. Saying this, Shui Wu withdrew her fair little hand that was hugging Fu Yi's waist, and slowly placed it on Fu Yi's handsome cheek. Now I am brother Fu Yi's woman. Even if Binger and the others want to join in the future, they can only call me big sister. Saying this, Shui Wu kissed him deeply, and her little hand still under the quilt became restless again. 2 days later, Heaven-Do City. The Great Spirit Arena in Heaven-Do Imperial City covered a vast area. Looking from afar, it resembled a small city. The overall architecture was towering and majestic, with high walls reaching into the clouds, giving one a strong visual impact, highlighting its important status among the buildings of the Heaven-Do Empire. Its exterior was also ingeniously designed. The main body of the building presented a rounded arc, as if a huge bowl had been inverted on the ground. This design ensured the spaciousness of the interior space while adding to the artistic beauty of the building. At the top of the building, there was a huge dome, inlaid with glazed tiles of various colors. Under the sunlight, it flashed with brilliant light, as if it were a dazzling crown. Furthermore, exquisite patterns and motifs were carved on the outer walls of the Great Spirit Arena, most of which were themed around elements related to spirit masters, such as spirit beasts and spirits. Several tall pillars stood at the entrance, with complex patterns carved on them as well, and precious gems were embedded in the capitals of the pillars. Among them, numerous auxiliary facilities were distributed, such as areas for the audience to rest, shops selling various items, and so on. The existence of these facilities provided great convenience for those who came to watch the spirit fighting matches, and also made the Great Spirit Arena a comprehensive venue integrating competition, entertainment, and leisure. Binger, do you think we can get the Gold Spirit Fighting Badge within half a year? That goes without saying, but Shui Wu, why do I feel like your figure has become even better these past 2 days? Shui Binger looked at Shui Wu with curious eyes. After all, girls were very concerned about their own figures and the figures of those around them. Hearing Shui Binger's words, a blush appeared on Shui Wu's cheeks, but she quickly suppressed it. If Binger wants to hear it, come to Big Sister's room tonight. Big Sister will tell you some little tips on managing your figure. The rest of the Tian Shui Academy girls, confused face. Zhu Zuqing looked silently at her sister at this moment, her sister seemed to also. Thinking of this, Zhu Zuqing's cheeks flushed instantly, and Zhu Zuyun also noticed Shui Wu's words and her sister's expression. Tisk, Zuqing, you are still too young. Don't be in a hurry. Wait another 2 years, and Big Sister will help you play matchmaker. Zhu Zuyun leaned quietly to her sister's ear and whispered this sentence. Zhu Zuqing, opening parenthesis E. Sister, I didn't. No, you did. Fu Yi led the girls of the Tian Shui team, facing the envious gazes of the onlookers, and stepped into the interior of the Heaven-Do City Great Spirit Arena. Inside the Great Spirit Arena of Heaven-Do City, the entire space was extremely open. The towering dome was like an endless sky, embedded with countless brilliant crystals, emitting a soft and bright light that illuminated every corner. The auditorium was arranged in a ring, layer upon layer, with dense seats that seemed endless, capable of accommodating tens of thousands of people to watch the match at the same time. The seats were made of sturdy stone, with exquisite patterns carved on them, which were both comfortable and showed nobility. In the center of the venue was a wide and flat battle area. The ground was paved with special hard stone, which, after being baptized by countless fierce battles, still exuded a tenacious aura. The air was filled with tension and anticipation. People's shouts and cheers seemed to converge into a surging torrent here, making one's blood boil involuntarily. This was a stage of glory and dreams, where every battle would bloom with the most brilliant radiance. Of course, this was also the place that the group of nobles liked the most, and it was also a place that the powerful and wealthy would definitely visit for entertainment every day. Just at this moment in the Great Spirit Arena, 2 spirit masters stood in confrontation, the atmosphere tense and heavy. Suddenly, one person launched an attack first. As spirit power surged, a low shout rang out. First spirit ability, Flame Explosion Fist. One could see his fist instantly wrapped in scorching flames, rushing towards his opponent like a burning meteor. The other spirit master's eyes narrowed, not afraid at all, and shouted loudly. Second spirit ability, Water Curtain Shield. A transparent water curtain rose instantly, blocking the menacing Flame Explosion Fist. The flames in the water curtain collided, making a hissing sound, and water vapor steamed up in the air. Third spirit ability, Flame Storm. The surrounding air instantly became extremely hot, and countless flame whirlwinds swept out. Seeing this, the opponent immediately counterattacked. Fourth spirit ability, Ice Thorn Assault. Sharp ice thorns protruded from the ground one by one, stabbing directly at the flame storm. The collision of the 2 side spirit abilities made all the nobles and commoners in the Great Spirit Arena excited. Fu Yi just silently glanced at the battle between the 2 spirit ancestors below. It was clear that they were both trained, and every move was a ruthless attack. However, these were not the points Fu Yi was concerned about. He noticed that from the moment he brought Xiao Wu and the members of the Tian Shui team into the Great Spirit Arena, there were no less than 10 gazes in the dark secretly staring at them. Because there had to be people watching over the academy, Luo Long and Han Rian, this pair of best friends, did not come with Fu Yi. He only hoped that these trash nobles could restrain themselves. After all, the hundreds of limit Douluo puppets he placed in the shadows of the girls were not for show. And as long as a limit Douluo puppet made a move, the opponent's 9 generations could be wiped off the history books of the Douluo Continent. However, those greedy gazes in the dark did not know how to restrain themselves at all. Investigate them for me. I have seen many top-grade women, but I have never seen so many at once. Tisk, they are all top-grade. Go and find out their identities, if they don't have any backing. Truly a group of stunners. It seems this count can take in a dozen more concubines. In less than a quarter of an hour, Fu Yi had led everyone to complete the registration for the titles in the Great Spirit Arena. Shui Binger, Frost Phoenix. Wu Ling, Light Dark Peacock. Zhu Zujing, Hell Civet. Zhu Zuyun, Phantom Civet. Ning Rongrong, Seven Treasure Glazed Tile. Shui Yuer, Azure Ice Dolphin. Shui Wu, Polar Ice Spirit. Yu Haro, Extreme Cold Ice Spear. Shen Luyu, Frost Flow. The current Tianshui team consisted of just these 9 people. During the 7-person team competition, 2 of them would be substitutes. To explain here, when Fu Yi arrived at Tianshui Academy 2 years ago, the only genius students were the 5 of them. As for the other 2 Tianshui female students selected during the competition in the original work, they were picked from the remaining students at Tianshui Academy later on. But because Fu Yi brought people into the academy and the competition has not started yet, those 2 were not selected. Chapter 87, Zhu Zuqing vs. Meng Yiren. In the Heaven Do City Great Spirit Arena, within the Earth Rank No. 2 luxury private room, the girls were all sitting in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows, watching the huge square arena below. The atmosphere in the Great Spirit Arena was tense and enthusiastic, and the audience was eagerly looking forward to it. The protagonists of this match were 2 beautiful girls whose figures and temperaments were both extraordinary. I didn't expect that Zuqing's first opponent would actually be the genius girl from the Exotic Beast Academy, Meng Yiren. Zuqing is now only 1 spirit ring away from becoming a spirit elder, so her chances of winning are quite high. Shui Binger and the other girls began to chatter and discuss, while Zhu Zuyun leaned very comfortably into Fu Yi's arms. Seeing this, Shui Wu seemed to want to assert her sovereignty and simply lay down on the other side of Fu Yi. Seeing this, the other girls felt their little jealousy jars being overturned. Shui Yuer, damn it, I was actually beaten to the punch by this woman, Shui Wu. Shen Luyu, brother Fu Yi belongs to everyone. Shui Wu, move aside quickly. Shui Binger, Shui Wu, I am the captain. I order you, the vice captain, to make some space for me. Wu Ling, master, Wu Ling also wants to cuddle with master-in-law. Xiao Wu, be good, my disciple. In a few years, master will take you to Duo Q. In the huge arena, Zuqing stood quietly on one side of the field. Her figure was tall, her curves exquisite, and her black tight-fitting outfit outlined her perfect figure to perfection. A waterfall of long hair fell casually over her shoulders. At this moment, she was wearing a purple-black mask, and the only thing revealed were her deep eyes, which were filled with determination and calmness. She was like an elegant and mysterious black cat, seemingly ready to launch a fatal blow at any moment. At this moment, Zuqing had no distracting thoughts in her mind. She was only thinking about how to demonstrate her strength in this battle. However, she seemed to have guessed that the girl in front of her should not be underestimated, yet she was full of confidence in her own spirit and abilities. In this battle, I must give it my all. I cannot have the slightest slack. I want brother Fu Yi to see my progress. Thinking this in her heart, Zuqing's eyes became even more determined. Meng Yiren stood at the other end of the field, dressed in a dark green long dress. The hem of her skirt fluttered in the wind, like a nimble green snake. She held her snake staff spirit, with exquisite snake patterns carved onto the staff, exuding a mysterious aura. Meng Yiren's eyes were also filled with confidence and pride. She was full of confidence in her own strength, although she did not think that the unknown girl in front of her would be stronger than herself. However, deep down, she still felt wary of Zuqing. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our Heaven Do City Great Spirit Arena to watch the battle in our arena. The referee's tone was high-pitched. As he pointed his hands towards Zuqing and Meng Yiren respectively, the introduction for this match began. Standing on my left is a newly registered beautiful girl contestant at our Heaven Do City Great Spirit Arena, the Hell Civet with 29 levels of spirit power. And standing on my right is our Great Spirit Arena's 5-win streak popular beauty contestant, the Green Snake Scepter contestant. I wonder what kind of sparks will fly when these 2 meet. Let us wait and see. As his voice fell, the audience erupted into amazing cheers. They loved watching Spirit Master battles, but they loved watching beautiful girls' battles even more. Not to mention that this was a battle between 2 beautiful girls. Then, the match begins. Following the referee's command, the battle officially began. Meng Yiren launched the attack first. She swung her snake staff, and her first spirit ability, Snake Blade, was activated instantly. A green light shot out from the snake staff, turning into a sharp blade, flying towards Zuqing like lightning. Zuqing's eyes narrowed, and her body instantly erupted with astonishing speed, dodging sideways like a black lightning bolt, easily avoiding Meng Yiren's attack. Her movements were light and agile, as if a hell civet were weaving through the darkness. Zuqing felt no ripples in her heart regarding Meng Yiren's attack. She was just calmly analyzing the opponent's attack style. Although her attack speed is fast, it is not enough to pose a threat to me. Thinking this, Zuqing also had some ideas for attacking. Seeing that the first strike missed, Meng Yiren was not discouraged and swung her snake staff again. Second spirit ability, Snake Body. The second spirit ring behind her shone with dazzling brilliance. Her body instantly became as flexible as a snake, winding towards Zuqing at an extremely fast speed. Meng Yiren's legs were trailed by a huge, illusory snake tail, moving flexibly within the arena, attempting to tightly compress Zuqing's movement trajectory within her own attack range. Let's see how you dodge this time. Meng Yiren's mouth curled slightly. Seeing this, a trace of seriousness flashed in Zuqing's eyes. Her figure retreated rapidly, and while dodging Meng Yiren's attack, she activated her first spirit ability towards the direction where Meng Yiren was. Hell Rush Stab. Suddenly, her body rushed forward like lightning. Meng Yiren, caught off guard for a moment, had her snake tail's attack range breached by the opponent. Zuqing's speed was like a black panther ready to pounce, leaving only a black afterimage in the arena. Seeing this scene, Meng Yiren was shocked. She hadn't expected Zuqing's speed to be so fast. She hurriedly adjusted her posture, and a cyan light radiated from the snake staff in her hand, but before she could react, Zuqing's figure had already quietly arrived in front of her. Hell 100 Claws. Zuqing's hands instantly turned into countless sharp claws, falling like a rainstorm onto the snake staff that Meng Yiren was holding in front of her to defend. Her attacks were like a violent storm, dazzling to the eyes, with every claw shadow containing powerful strength. But what Fu Yi taught her was that if a strike doesn't land, retreat immediately. An agility attack system spirit master must seize every opportunity to attack. In her panic, Meng Yiren swung her snake staff to defend, but at this moment, Zuqing had once again turned into a phantom and disappeared in front of her. Having regained her composure, Meng Yiren panted heavily. Zuqing's attack speed was simply too fast, and she couldn't fully defend against it at all. It could be said that if she hadn't relied on the snake body and the protection of her spirit just now, she would have already lost. However, at this very moment, a tiny sound came from behind Meng Yiren. Not good. Meng Yiren turned around instantly, and the illusory snake tail swept backwards violently. However, the moment that Snake Tail hit Zhu Jing, Meng Yiren realized that it was actually an afterimage. First spirit ability, Hell Rush Stab. Zhu Jing's voice came from above Meng Yiren. First spirit ability, Snake Blade. Without a chance to think, Meng Yiren released her first spirit ability towards the air above herself almost by instinct, then used her second spirit ability, Snake Body, to envelop her figure. Clang. Second spirit ability, Hell 100 Claws. However, under Zhu Jing's attack, even with the protection of the snake body, wounds gradually appeared on Meng Yiren's body. Her green long dress was torn, revealing the snow-like skin underneath. Meng Yiren gritted her teeth, deciding to fight back with all her might. She activated her first spirit ability, Snake Blade, again, while injecting spirit power into the snake staff, making the power of the snake blade even stronger. A huge green blade shot out from the snake staff, flying towards Zhu Jing with powerful force. That's right, Meng Yiren was going to make a desperate gamble. Chapter 88. They all want a Princess Carry. Zhu Jing felt Meng Yiren's counterattack, her eyes turned sharp, and the force and speed of her hands became even faster. Her Hell 100 Claws clashed fiercely with Meng Yiren's snake blade in the air, emitting bursts of loud noises. Sparks flew everywhere, and powerful energy fluctuations spread to the surroundings. The audience was deeply captivated by the intense battle between the two beautiful young girls. They watched the two in the arena with faces full of surprise, occasionally letting out bursts of exclamations. Fu Yi, sitting in the private room, couldn't help but marvel at Zhu Jing's reaction speed and agility. She was truly worthy of being Zhu Jing. After all, he hadn't given her any spirit bone to help her rapidly increase her strength. In just over a month, her combat awareness and spirit power rank had actually improved so much in such a short time. In fact, Zhu Jing's talent was indeed not great, but the conditions here were simply too good. Every meal consisted of energy-rich spirit beast meat, along with the top-tier yoga technique, a method that could double her cultivate speed. One must know that Zhu Jing was the cultivate fanatic in the original work, the most hardworking one among the original 7 devils. Now that she had such excellent conditions, her rapid increase in strength didn't seem like something hard to accept. The battle quickly entered a white-hot stage, with both sides attacking each other with all their might. But Fu Yi could tell that Zhu Jing had won this match. Sure enough, at the final critical moment, Zhu Jing dodged Meng Yiren's charged snake blade by turning sideways, and immediately after, the first spirit ring behind her flashed instantly. Hell Rush Stab. Her figure, moving like a ghost, instantly closed in on Meng Yiren. At this moment, Meng Yiren had no chance to counter, and she was like fish on a chopping block, left to be slaughtered. Referee, we surrender. Stop her quickly. Just at this moment, a slightly hurried and aged voice rang out, but it was too late. Zhu Jing's attack had already reached Meng Yiren. However, just as everyone's hearts tightened and they closed their eyes in nervousness, there was no so-called blood staining the arena, there was only silent stillness. I won. Zhu Jing's sharp cat claws landed on empty air, and Meng Yiren before her collapsed to the ground, exhausted, as if she had just walked through the gates of hell. In the next second, an elderly woman landed directly beside the young girl, seemingly checking her injuries. Seeing this, the referee also came to his senses, his eyes filled with a hint of admiration as he looked at Zhu Jing. I announce, the winner of this match is the Hell Civic contestant. Accompanied by the referee announcing the final result of the match, all the spectators in the arena erupted into enthusiastic cheers. Zhu Jing, having won the match, had no mind to pay attention to these sounds. At this time, the spirit power within her body was already exhausted, and the only reason she hadn't collapsed was because of a lingering obsession in her heart. Her steps as she left the arena were slightly unsteady. The spectators seemed to notice something was wrong, but before some sharp-eyed individuals could jump down from the stands to have intimate contact with this beautiful young girl, a handsome young man dressed in gilded clothing instantly appeared by Zhu Jing's side. Little girl, you did well. That's right, Fu Yi, this gentle young master, had come over to offer his tenderness. Upon hearing Fu Yi's voice, a smile appeared at the corners of Zhu Jing's mouth. This big brother Fu Yi, who had picked her up, was praising her. Zhu Jing nodded weakly. At this moment, she clearly could no longer walk back on her own. I'll carry you back. Using your spirit ability so many times in a row must have consumed a lot of your spirit power and mental force. Fu Yi gently lifted her, in a standard princess carry position. Held in his arms, Zhu Jing didn't know if it was because of exhaustion or shyness, but her cheeks were flushed red, yet her body showed no signs of wanting to struggle. As for those gorgeously dressed young men who had just jumped down from the stands, they were staring at Fu Yi with faces full of jealousy, but regarding their gazes, Fu Yi gave their eardrums a piercing of sword intent. PFF. PFF. Blood stained the arena. This group of supporting characters and losers all clutched their ears and collapsed in the entrance passage. As for what their future held, Fu Yi wouldn't bother with such trivial matters. That's enough for your battles today. Later, I'll take you to absorb your third spirit ring. After hearing Fu Yi's words, although Zhu Jing only felt that she couldn't even keep her eyelids open at this moment, she still gave Fu Yi a response. However, at this moment, inside the EARTH2 luxury private room. Wow, little sister Zhu Jing is so lucky, she actually got to enjoy a princess carry from brother Fu Yi. Oh Omega O. Sister, I want this too. No, in a while, I also want to be like little sister Zhu Jing, use my spirit ability until I'm exhausted, and then enjoy a princess carry from brother Fu Yi. Oh, mouth oh. When Fu Yi carried Zhu Jing back to the room, he saw that apart from Shui Wu, Xiao Wu, and the few girls who were already his wives, all the other girls were casting expectant gazes at him. But in fact, there weren't many genius spirit masters. Most of the people coming here to compete were ordinary spirit masters wanting to make money. Super geniuses like Shui Binger who could challenge those of higher ranks were rare even in this imperial city. However, what Fu Yi found strange was that although the opponents weren't very strong, why did these little girls always pretend to be weak and fragile when getting off the stage, and then let him carry them back to the luxury private room? Shui Binger's opponent. No, she definitely has some serious illness. I'm just a passerby extra, and she actually smashed me with an ice phoenix. Afterward, she even put on a weak pose. You Haru's opponent. No, doesn't your ice spear cost money? Ah, my spirit was almost shattered by you, and in the end, you even acted weak and aggrieved. The rest of the opponents, Baby is bitter inside, but Baby doesn't dare to say it. After the match ended, before they had even left the Great Spirit Arena, they bumped into the opponent of this little wildcat Zhu Jing from today's Great Spirit Arena, Meng Yiren. Although Zhu Jing was wearing a mask at the time, Meng Yiren recognized at a glance that she was the Hell Civet who had fought her in the arena. Thank you for showing mercy, otherwise just now I would have. Finally, Meng Yiren bowed to Zhu Jing again. Thank you. In the evening, Fu Yi took Xiao Wu and the few little girls from the Tianshui team to the most luxurious Tianqiang hotel in Heaven Do City. At first, he had originally wanted to take these little girls to Jushang Pavilion, but since there were too many of them, Fu Yi simply spent a huge sum of money to rent a dozen rooms on the top floor of the Tianqiang Hotel for a year to keep as their residence. Of course, Fu Yi, this upright gentleman, was also staying inside. Chapter 89. Things are a bit beyond expectations. Congratulations to the host for successfully purchasing 99 limit Douluo level black armor puppets. Following Fu Yi's command, the group of black armor puppets turned into streaks of black shadows and dissipated into the room, finally merging into the shadows of all the members of the Tianshui team. With 9 puppets assigned to protect each person, presumably there shouldn't be any mishaps in the future. Thinking this, Fu Yi lay directly on the bed, contemplating the things he needed to do next. He planned to take Zhu Zuqing to the Stardo Great Forest to wander around in the next few days. Of course, taking Zhu Zuqing to the Stardo Great Forest was just a cover. His main goal was to take away the 8 spider lances and, incidentally, check on how Little San and the others were developing. Mr. Lu Xuan once said it well, one may have the heart to harm others, but one must have the heart to guard against them. If Tang San were given a manual on hidden weapons, he could play all sorts of tricks on the Douluo Continent. If he were also given the 8 spider lances, he might just end up killing a god. Although his system had 9,999 plus of them and wasn't lacking in such things, as long as he knew about it, he would absolutely not leave this item for Tang San. As for our God King reincarnation, Tang Chuan, ever since he became Du Gubo's medicine slave, Fu Yi had ignored him. After all, that old fellow Du Gubo was no pushover. Given Tang Chuan's current situation, unless Tang Hao intervened, there was absolutely no possibility of him escaping. He had already made plans for the next 2 days. He would let Xiao Wu lead the Tianshui team for now. Besides Xiao Wu, who was a super Douluo, Fu Yi had also placed over 100 limit Douluo puppets into their shadows, so there shouldn't be any major issues regarding their safety. But just as he was lying there staring at the ceiling, thinking, a nimble black shadow stepped through the broken moonlight and intruded into Fu Yi's room through the window. In the quiet night, moonlight spilled over the earth like water. A girl with an excellent figure, like an elf of the dark night, intruded into Fu Yi's room. Her long hair cascaded down to her shoulders like a waterfall, and her exquisite face appeared even more charming under the moonlight. Especially her proud chest, which rose and fell slightly with her breathing, exuding endless charm. She entered the room from the window elegantly and gracefully, her jet black eyes carrying 3 parts shyness and 7 parts tisk. Fu Yi was slightly stunned by this sudden intruder, but when he saw clearly that it was Zhu Zuyun, a strange feeling welled up in his heart. Ahem. Seeing Zhu Zuyun slowly walking towards him, her steps were light and elegant. Fu Yi's gaze looked calmly at Zhu Zuyun as she walked toward him, but within this calmness there was a hint of heat. Watching his little servant arrive in front of him, she tilted her head slightly, and a trace of seductiveness emerged in her jet black eyes. Zhu Zuyun was biting her lip lightly at this moment, a blush spreading across her face. Fu Yi couldn't help but reach out, caressing her cheek. Zhu Zuyun closed her eyes, feeling the warmth of Fu Yi's palm. I am already a level 49 quasi-spirit king. Oh. I wonder what kind of tricks master wants to play with Zuyun today. One must know that when Zhu Zuyun met Fu Yi, she was only a level 38 spirit elder. In this month or so, she had successfully advanced to a spirit ancestor, and Fu Yi had therefore gifted her god-bestowed spirit ring. And ever since Zhu Zuyun absorbed that vicious beast spirit bone a few days ago, her spirit power had begun to skyrocket. Her spirit power had increased crazily like a rocket, and she was now a level 49 spirit ancestor. A 200,000-year level dark demonic evil god tiger torso bone, increasing a spirit ancestor spirit power by 9 levels, should be reasonable. I even feel that the spirit power given by this spirit bone is a bit low. Tisk, any kind of trick is fine, but the key is, with your frail little body, can you withstand it? Fu Yi teased and pinched Zhu Zuyun's fair chin. In his view, Zhu Zuyun had been a bit obsessed lately, running to him every few days to seek warmth and comfort. Regarding this, Zhu Zuyun did not speak, simply silently feeling the temperature of Fu Yi's body and his strong heartbeat. However, just as Zhu Zuyun and Fu Yi were immersed in that moment of intimacy, Zhu Zuyun's keen intuition made her notice a slight abnormality at the door. Suddenly, she tilted her head slightly, and the heat in her black eyes faded a little at this moment, with a hint of playfulness on her lips. Tisk, my good master is really popular with girls. Oh well, let me see which little sister it is. Saying this, she kissed Fu Yi's lips quite aggressively, then quickly let go of Fu Yi and nimbly hid under the bed. The room returned to tranquility, as if everything just now was just a dream. Fu Yi naturally knew that a beautiful figure was moving quickly toward this side not far away. After all, the moment he spread out his mental force, he already knew the answer. A moment later, a slight sound came from the window. A pretty girl with long dark blue hair and sky blue pupils quietly entered the room. That's right, this is our Tianshui team's queen of dirty jokes, Shui Wu. Her excellent figure appeared even more graceful under the moonlight, and her beautiful appearance was like a fairy who had walked out of a painting. Shui Wu's gaze fell on Fu Yi, her eyes carrying tenderness and shyness. Looking at the suddenly appearing Shui Wu, Fu Yi didn't have much surprise in his heart. After all, Shui Wu was already his woman. Walking with lotus steps to Fu Yi, she took off her small white leather boots and walked directly onto the bed, her gorgeous sky blue pupils sparkling with dots of light. Shui Wu gently extended her fair little hand, grasped Fu Yi's warm large hand, and then placed the palm against her own pretty face. Brother Fu Yi, on a silent night, not having a girl's company would make brother lonely, so Shui Wu came here to keep brother company. Shui Wu pounced on Fu Yi like a fierce little kitten, knocking him down. As Shui Wu got closer, they could hear each other's breathing. Shui Wu leaned over slightly and then kissed Fu Yi's lips quite forcefully. After a long while. Under the bed, Zhu Zuyun was currently observing all of this curiously. She didn't expect that the oldest little sister in the team, Shui Wu, had actually been taken down by this bad guy Fu Yi. And at this moment, Shui Wu had completely not noticed Zhu Zuyun under the bed. She was still continuing to enjoy this warm moment, as if the whole world only had the two of them, her and Fu Yi. The night remained quiet, but the atmosphere in the room became increasingly subtle. On this extraordinary night, moonlight spilled over the earth like water, draping the entire world in a layer of mysterious silver veil. Inside Fu Yi's room, the atmosphere appeared exceptionally stimulating and full of surprises. Shui Wu was originally immersed in intimate interaction with Fu Yi, her heart full of tenderness and joy. However, a subtle sound outside the door suddenly made her perceive a trace of dangerous aura. She tilted her ear slightly and actually heard the sound of footsteps faintly coming from outside. The sound was getting closer and closer. Clearly, someone was standing at the door wanting to enter the room. Knock, knock, knock. Fu Yi's door was knocked upon, and Shui Wu also came back to her senses from her dazed expression. A trace of panic flashed in her eyes. Brother Fu Yi, you go open the door, I'll hide for a bit. In her haste, Shui Wu searched everywhere for a hiding place. Her gaze landed under the bed, and without the slightest hesitation, she quickly hid inside. But the moment she entered under the bed, she was stunned by the scene before her. WDW. Zhu Zuyun, Zhu Zuqing's sister, that girl with an exquisitely beautiful appearance and an excellent figure, was actually here too. Shui Wu was so frightened by this scene that she was about to scream, but Zhu Zuyun was quick-witted and instantly locked her body, covering her mouth. Shush tilde don't make a sound. Chapter 90. The room is almost too full to hide anyone else. Zhu Zuyun watched the bewildered Shui Wu with a mischievous glint in her eyes. At this moment, Shui Wu was completely stunned. Little did she know, Zhu Zuyun was feeling equally helpless. She had originally thought hiding here was safe enough, but she hadn't expected Shui Wu to choose the same spot. Afterward, both women silently held their breath, nervously watching the room, terrified of being discovered. Clatter, the door was gently opened by Fu Yi. A stunning girl walked in, wearing a pink short skirt, with a delicate face, white stockings, and small black boots. It was indeed Xiao Wu, the most playful one in his group of wives, without a doubt. Seeing Fu Yi, Xiao Wu's eyes filled with joy as she walked straight toward him. Fu Yi smiled gently upon seeing her. She slowly approached Fu Yi and gave him a soft hug. Brother Fu Yi, Xiao Wu has practiced some new tricks recently. Let's experience them together today, and next time, I'll bring the sisters along. A cunning glint flashed in Xiao Wu's eyes, while a trace of awkwardness appeared on Fu Yi's face. It wasn't just that he already had two people hidden in his room. If they were to do anything now, it would be more than a little awkward. Although they were all his women, Shui Wu didn't know about the existence of Xiao Wu and Zhu Zuyun. Hearing her mentor Xiao Wu's words, Shui Wu, who was under the bed, couldn't help but feel surprised. After all, mentor Xiao Wu was usually quite serious in front of them, and besides. Fu Yi looked at Xiao Wu, whose eyes were filled with little hearts, and felt a sense of impending doom. He knew there were still two people hidden under the bed. But Xiao Wu was worthy of being the rogue rabbit who had lived with Fu Yi for 4 years. Now, she had developed a taste for it and would rally her sister group to assault Fu Yi every week. If it weren't for the option that dependents couldn't conceive, Xiao Wu would probably have already given birth to many little rabbits for him. The night was as dark as ink, silence enveloping the entire space. Little did they know, an even more dramatic story was about to unfold in Fu Yi's room. Knock, knock, knock. Brother Fu Yi, Yuer wants to chat with you, is that okay? Upon hearing the knock in Shui Yuer's voice, a look of dissatisfaction appeared on Xiao Wu's pretty face, but a mischievous smile tugged at the corners of her mouth. Brother Fu Yi, it's little sister Yuer. As her teacher, I won't disturb your romantic exchange with little sister Yuer. Saying this, Xiao Wu slid in and squeezed together with Zhu Zuyun and Shui Wu. When the three pairs of eyes met, Fortunately, Xiao Wu had a big heart. Seeing the mischievous smile on her well-endowed sister Zhu Zuyun's face, she instantly understood. Little sister Shui Wu, I didn't expect you to have reached this step too. At this moment, Xiao Wu's face was filled with a wicked grin. Consequently, within Shui Wu's terrified gaze, Xiao Wu and Zhu Zuyun, the good sisters, lay there, poisonous hands on her. Shui Wu. The door was pushed open slowly once again, and a girl in a dark blue short skirt walked in. She was pretty and cute, with light blue hair draped over her shoulders, looking like an elf who had walked out of a dream. Her light blue eyes held a sense of determination and passion. The moment she saw Fu Yi, she walked toward him without hesitation. Although Fu Yi was mentally prepared, he was still slightly stunned by the sudden approach of this girl, Shui Yuer. Before he could react, Shui Yuer had already pushed him onto the bed, staring directly at Fu Yi's face in a very domineering posture. Although the posture was like that, her soft face carried a hint of shyness. Even though Shui Yuer's strength couldn't possibly affect Fu Yi at all, he wanted to see what this bold girl would do to him. For a moment, there was no resistance in the room, only Fu Yi's compliance. Xiao Wu, Zhu Zuyun, and the teary-eyed Shui Wu under the bed were carefully sensing the movements on the bed. At this moment, Shui Wu was bound by Xiao Wu and Zhu Zuyun in a very strange posture, and Xiao Wu, that rogue rabbit, was still doing some very novel things to Shui Wu. Time passed quietly, and a tense yet ambiguous atmosphere filled the room. Brother Fu Yi, Yuer wants to talk to you. Just then, Shui Yuer spoke, but seeing Fu Yi's posture of not intending to resist, a smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. You little girl, why are you running into my dorm in the middle of the night instead of sleeping? Aren't you afraid that your teacher will lose control and have his way with you? Regarding Shui Yuer's blatant teasing, Fu Yi indicated that he would not fall behind. However, that's fine. Yuer has been craving Brother Fu Yi's body for more than a day or two. Saying this, Shui Yuer kissed Fu Yi's lips directly. Shui Yuer current favorability 99%. At this moment, Fu Yi felt both happy and strange. He felt like he was being treated as a commodity by these little girls, one after another, and the kind that didn't pay. This reminded him of a quote from Cao Cao during the Three Kingdoms period, a pair of red lips tasted by thousands, how? Fu Yi, WTF. Shui Yuer was completely immersed in the intimate contact with Fu Yi, seemingly forgetting everything around her. However, a dramatic scene appeared yet again. Not long after, she seemed to hear some movement and stopped abruptly. Immediately after, she heard a clear knock on the door. Brother Fu Yi, it's me, Lu Yu, I want to talk to you. Shui Yuer was shocked. In her panic, she hurriedly got up from Fu Yi, her light blue eyes looking nervously at the door. Brother Fu Yi, it's Lu Yu. Lend me the wardrobe to hide for a moment. Her gaze fell on the luxurious wardrobe to the side, and without any hesitation, she quickly hid inside. The room fell into silence again. Fu Yi sat on the bed with a complicated expression, his heart filled with helplessness. No, did you guys plan this? My room is only this big, how could you all possibly come here? At this moment, the door was knocked on again. The sound was exceptionally clear in the silent night, as if urging the gears of fate to continue turning. Fu Yi stood in the center of the room, looking at the closed door, feeling as if a million curses were galloping through his heart. A moment later, Fu Yi regained his composure. The door was pushed open slowly by him, and a figure with a beautiful appearance and a graceful figure walked in, except her facial features had a bit more spirit than Shui Yuer's. It was indeed Shen Liu, with exquisite fair features and slightly red cheeks. It was clear she was still a bit shy. Brother Fu Yi, I came here so late, I hope I'm not disturbing you. Meanwhile, the four people hiding in the room. Shui Yuer, no way, so you are this proactive too, Lu Yu. Shui Wu, my sisters, I am ultimately one step ahead of you. Zhu Zuyun, I didn't expect this dull little girl to have such a bold side. Xiao Wu, Tisk, give this young miss a few more allies, and let's see how I bring the sisters to defeat the bad guy Fu Yi. It's little Lu Yu, is there something you need by coming to find me so late? Chapter 91, An Early Confession from Shui Binger. When yet another knock on the door came, Shen Luyu scrambled in a panic and hid in the wardrobe, only to see Shui Yuer, who was already hiding inside. Before she could speak, Shui Yuer pulled her in. Yuer, you. Shish tilde tilde. ... Brother Fuyi, it's me, Yu Hero. I have some questions regarding cultivation that I don't quite understand. ... 2.5 minutes later. Knock, knock, knock. Brother Fuyi, it's me, Shui Binger. I still have some questions about yoga, and I'd like to ask for your guidance. Hearing the knock, Yu Hero hurriedly ran toward the luxurious wardrobe, only to discover Shui Yuer and Shen Luyu already hiding inside. Quick, come in, big sister is coming. Oh. ... By this point, in the room, apart from Fuyi who was there openly, there were 6 people hiding in the shadows. Click. The door was opened by Fuyi, and what came into view was a girl who looked 70% like Shui Yuer, though Shui Yuer's facial features were a bit softer. Oh, it's Binger. It's so late, why aren't you resting? What brings you here to play around? Fuyi helplessly stroked her ice blue hair. He knew that Shui Binger was always very composed in front of him. He could understand why Shui Yuer and the others would come to chat, but for Shui Binger to come find him so late at night was quite interesting. Binger was just worried that Brother Fuyi would be bored alone in his room. Can Binger come into Brother Fuyi's room? Fuyi, hollow square, as expected of a group of sisters living together. You all use the same excuse. Shui Binger no longer had her usual serious expression from when she was with Shui Yuer and the others. At this moment, she looked just like a sweet, smiling girl next door. Of course, come in and sit. It was simple enough to come in. Right now, apart from Wu Ling, Zhu Zuqing, and Ning Rongrong, the 3 little girls who didn't meet the age requirement, almost all the other members of Tianshui Academy were crammed in here, 3 under the bed, 3 in the wardrobe. After the 2 sat on the bed, Shui Binger's cool, delicate hand boldly grasped Fuyi's palm. Her pretty face flushed slightly, and her eyes appeared slightly evasive. Brother Fuyi, could you guide Binger through the yoga once? There are still some details I don't quite understand. Saying this, Shui Binger sat directly in front of Fuyi and then obediently placed her fair forearms on either side of Fuyi. Sure. Fuyi didn't do anything improper or forceful. Since she wanted him to guide her through the top-tier yoga technique, he would just guide her through it. Fuyi led Shui Binger in moving their alluring forms, reflecting the bright moonlight. ... Omitted. The whole process took about 15 minutes. Shui Yuer and the other 2 girls were hiding in the wardrobe, secretly watching their captain and teacher Fuyi practicing yoga under the moonlight. Shui Binger's current affection, 98%. After the entire set of movements was finished, Shui Binger was drenched in fragrant sweat, and her affection for Fuyi had reached as high as 98 points. Who tilde. After Shui Binger struggled to adjust her breathing a few times, the feeling of weakness in her body gradually dissipated, and she felt her body becoming clear and transparent at this moment. This was a sensation she had never experienced while practicing yoga alone. As expected of Brother Fuyi, you guiding me through yoga and me practicing it by myself are completely different experiences. Shui Binger, acting like a rascal, lay directly in Fuyi's arms, her exquisite face unwilling to leave his embrace. Rustle. A faint sound came from the bed, and Shui Binger, the captain of the Tianshui team, turned around to face Fuyi. Inside the wardrobe, Shui Yuer, Yu Hero, and Shen Luyu were holding their breath, not daring to make a sound. Today's events would definitely be a topic of conversation for the 3 sisters during their leisure time for a while to come. They knew their captain had never let them catch her in any compromising situations, and now they finally had a reason to tease her. But in this current situation, why did it feel like their big sister was going to get there first? Hey. Brother Fuyi, big sister Dean told Binger that men are all no good and forbade us from falling in love, but I think Brother Fuyi is a very, very good person. Shui Binger was looking at Fuyi earnestly, her deep blue eyes hiding many unspeakable emotions. Over the past 2 years, regarding various cultivation technique, martial arts, and methods to increase cultivation speed, their big brother Fuyi had never held anything back. Even the Jushang Pavilion, where big sister Lu Along worked, who sponsored their academy, was big brother Fuyi's property. Her heart might have once been shrouded in cold ice by her Dean, but during these 2+ years of being together, the solid ice in her heart had been constantly melting, turning into a pool of spring water. As she said this, Shui Binger cupped Fuyi's perfect face with her left hand. Her right hand seemed to touch something, and her cheeks instantly flushed red. However, her movement stopped, and her ice blue eyes appeared slightly evasive. Brother Fuyi. Her tender pink lips kissed Fuyi directly, and Fuyi's mind went completely blank. Shiguma, do. No, is this really Shui Binger? She. After a long while, their lips parted. Shui Binger's face was flushed with shyness, but as she looked at Fuyi, her eyes held a hint of hesitation. Xiao Wu, Zhu Zuyun, and Shui Wu, who were under the bed, saw this scene and exchanged glances. All 3 of them could clearly feel each other's excitement. Fuyi, this powder keg, had his fuse lit by Shui Binger's actions just now, but there were a few too many spectators at the scene, so. Brother Fuyi, could you give Binger a little more time? Okay. Hearing Shui Binger's words, Fuyi finally breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it was Shui Binger who came last, and she was rational enough, otherwise, who knows what might have happened. You little girl, sigh tilde be good, go back and rest. As he said this, Shui Binger kissed Fuyi on the cheek once more. Mua. After this sweet kiss, I am yours. In the future, I will give myself to Brother Fuyi. Shui Binger's current affection, 100%. Matt's affection locked. Congratulations to the host for successfully capturing Shui Binger. As the faint orchid scent near his ear gradually dissipated, Shui Binger trotted out of the room. After Shui Binger left, a long while later, the 3 little girls who had been peeking from the wardrobe finally came out one by one. Mua, Shui Yuer, imitating her sister, gave Fuyi a sweet kiss, then leaned into his ear and whispered softly. Brother Fuyi, I'll come over with my sister when the time comes. The second one to come over was Shen Luyu. Mua. Brother Fuyi, big sister Binger is too mean. We clearly agreed that she wouldn't compete with me for you, but Luyu will still come to find you. After Shen Luyu came Yu Hero. Brother Fuyi, they are all too mean, but Hero will get here before them. After the 3 girls left, Xiao Wu, Zhu Zuyun, and Shui Wu appeared from under the bed. Xiao Wu and Zhu Zuyun, with mischievous grins on their faces, placed the blushing Shui Wu onto the bed. Little sister Shui Wu, we agreed under the bed that you would be the vanguard today. Little Shui Wu, as your teacher, I order you to take the lead today. Shui Wu, Sigma Tsu degree D degree, Tsu. Xiao Wu, Ya Jie Ya. Zhu Zuyun, Ya Jie Ya. Fuyi, Hollow Square. Chapter 92, Heading to the Stardew Great Forest. 2.5 days later. At noon, the scorching sun poured down fiercely onto the ground, rousing the sleepy people. The crystalline dew clinging to the leaves had long been dried up by the intense sun, and the morning breeze had transformed into a heavy, warm current. In Heaven Do City, on the top floor of the Tianqiang Hotel, inside the luxurious suite number 4 where Fuyi resided. Fuyi had already donned his gilded robes, because he was taking Zhu Qing to obtain her third spirit ring. Ahem, in reality, it was just a small excuse to prevent Tang San from absorbing the spirit ring and spirit bone of that man-faced demon spider. Fuyi had already tested Zhu Qing's physique using the system's detection card. Currently, her third spirit ring could absorb the spirit ring of an ordinary spirit beast below 3,300 years. This was also one of the gains from having them practice this yoga during this period, which broadened their meridians and enhanced their tolerance. Don't ask why you would go to the Stardew Great Forest when he has a god-bestowed spirit ring. If you must ask, it's simply an excuse to kill that man-faced demon spider so it isn't left for Tang San, and to push the plot along as well. Looking back at the 3 women, including Xiao Wu, who were still sleeping on the bed, Fuyi felt a wave of helplessness. 1 super Douluo and 2 spirit elders actually dared to provoke the dignity of a limit Douluo like him. Heaven knows how infuriating it was 2 days ago when he showed mercy to the 3 of them, only for Xiao Wu to lead them in acting arrogantly. Hollow down pointing triangle. ... Stardew Great Forest, at a post station 100 miles away. Fuyi brought Zhu Qing along, flying slowly, and finally arrived here before dusk. If his guess was correct, he would soon be able to see those Shrek members who were mediocre for not daring to cause trouble. However, Fuyi was very curious. Shrek currently only had 4 original members: Tang San, Dai Mubai, Oscar, Ma Hongjun. Where was he supposed to find the other 3 members? Could it be that Shrek Academy was going to disband before it even started? Big brother Fuyi, today we... Just then, Zhu Qing, standing behind Fuyi, tugged at the corner of his robe. It was evident that she still seemed somewhat nervous. Let's rest here for the night, and tomorrow I will take you to hunt for your spirit ring. Fuyi liked this little kitten, Zhu Qing, very much. She was calm, decisive, and knew that since her talent wasn't top tier, she put in several times more effort than others to catch up to their progress. One had to know that among the original Shrek 7 devils, the most hardworking person was Zhu Qing, but without the enhancement of an immortal herb, the person most likely to become a god other than Tang San was Oscar. After all, an innate full spirit power, food system spirit master was nothing to scoff at. Of course, that was none of Fuyi's business. He would not cultivate an unstable factor, especially since the other party was a male. Grr, Zhu Qing's little stomach let out a low growl. At this moment, her cheeks were slightly flushed, and she lowered her head as if to ease her embarrassment. Hungry, aren't you? I'll take you to dinner. Fuyi gently patted Zhu Qing's little head, and then he took this little black cat, Zhu Qing, to the largest restaurant here. This restaurant seemed to have weathered many storms. The wooden walls were somewhat mottled, and several tiles on the side were missing. Yet, despite looking somewhat dilapidated, the place was bustling with people, and this hotel also provided lodging services. Looking at the attire of these diners, Fuyi could guess that most of them were spirit masters who had come here to hunt for spirit rings, or to hunt spirit beasts and sell their bones and meat to make ends meet. There were also a few simple tables and chairs placed at the hotel entrance. Perhaps because it was cooler outside, there were a few tables of people sitting there, clinking glasses and exchanging cups. Walking into the restaurant, the interior layout was extremely simple. The outermost area had a few wooden tables and wooden chairs, but the positions further inside near the windows were equipped with somewhat better amenities, solid wood chairs with soft cushions, and more exquisite tables and tableware. And the cashier counter of this shop was just a long counter, with various wine jars and utensils placed behind it. It could be said that the boss who opened this shop knew what it meant to save where you should and spend where you should. Boss, bring over all your signature dishes, and then open 2 premium rooms for me. Fuyi casually tossed 1,000 gold coins in front of the waiter, and upon seeing the large bag of gold coins, the other party couldn't take his eyes off it. Yes, please take a seat, Your Excellency. The waiter in charge of collecting money walked out from inside, and with a beaming face, led Fuyi and Zhu Qing to the best and quietest spot on the first floor. However, when he saw Zhu Qing beside Fuyi, his dark eyes rolled around in their sockets. Your Excellency, the dishes you ordered will be here shortly, but... The waiter pretended to turn around and look at the packed room. We only have 1 premium room left, all the other rooms have already been rented out. What do you think? Listening to this classic line from the waiter, Fuyi thought that this kid really had a sharp eye. He would definitely achieve great things in the future. Only 1 room left, but there are 2 of us. Before Fuyi could finish, the waiter interrupted to answer. Your Excellency, rest assured, our premium room is very large, and the facilities inside are fully equipped. Even if 3 or 4 people slept in it at the same time, it would be absolutely no problem. Hearing the waiter's words, Fuyi looked back at Zhu Qing. Zhu Qing, you need to absorb a spirit ring tomorrow, so you should take this room to rest. Conan from the Japanese islands once said that when one needs to pretend, one must pretend, advancing by retreating is the mark of a true man. After hearing Fuyi's words, Zhu Qing went through a 2-second mental storm. It's fine, I can just sleep in the same room as you, big brother Fuyi. You already went to the trouble of bringing me to hunt for a spirit ring, and he just said the room is very large, so... Omitted here ****. When the waiter was about to leave, he exchanged a glance with Fuyi. As expected of a man, just a touch of the eyes was enough to understand what the other was thinking. Waiter, boss, I've handled the matter for you. Fuyi, you kid, I'm giving you a thumbs up. Fuyi and Zhu Qing sat inside the restaurant waiting quietly. After all, it takes time to serve dishes. But just at this moment, a burst of noisy sounds came from the entrance. Tang San, what exactly is going on with your brother? It was one thing for you to carry him on the way here, but look at him now. Hearing this sound, Fuyi already knew who had arrived. Weren't they those unlucky fellows from Shrek Academy? Looking back, he indeed saw several familiar figures. Flender, Zhao Wuji, Dai Mubai, Ma Hongjun, Oscar, Tang San, and Tang Chuan. How did our God King reincarnation, Your Excellency Tang Chuan, come back? Wasn't he supposed to be a medicine slave in Dugubo's herb garden? Could it be that old thing, Tang Hao, went to fish him out? Fuyi carefully scanned Tang Chuan's body. The potent poison at the center of his brow was indeed gone. However, this was not important. Whether it was Tang Chuan, Tang San, or even the God Realm, they posed basically no threat to him. Currently, he just didn't want those self-righteous people or gods to disturb his carefree days. Quote, Sigh, brother, why don't you just confess? You left for 2.5 years and came back covered in scars. If you have any grievances, tell teacher Zhao and the headmaster, they will help you. Tang San's words were like a sharp knife stabbing straight into Tang Chuan's chest, tearing open the scars in his heart that had long since healed. Confess. How do you want me to confess? That group of monkeys, those scumbags, those 3 lecherous degenerates. And the Douluo who imprisoned me for 2 years. He hated so much. Chapter 93, Encountering Shrek Academy. Dead fatty, stop spacing out. Hurry up and order the food, you're the best at eating. Daimubai kicked Ma Hongjun in the buttocks from behind, and although the latter had been kicked, he still went to order food with a face full of smiles. Jokes aside, Daimubai was the biggest benefactor among them. Since Dean Flender and the others didn't take care of their food and drinks, they had to rely on Daimubai now. Ahem, don't worry, boss I won't say anything else, but when it comes to eating, I'm definitely top tier. Watching Ma Hongjun anxiously marking the menu with a pen, Daimubai turned his gaze toward Tang San and the others, the corners of his mouth curving into a slight smile. It's fate that we can all attend school together at Shrek Academy. I'm the oldest, so let this meal today be my treat to welcome Tang San and the others. Following Daimubai's gaze, in addition to the 2 brothers Tang Chuan and Tang San who had just joined Shrek Academy, there were 2 new students, a man and a woman, with peculiar physiques. However, looking at their slightly curious gazes as they surveyed the surroundings, Fuyi guessed they might have just barely made it past the Shrek Academy passing line. Just at this moment, 2 virtual templates appeared before Fuyi. Name, X-Men Cheng, age, 12, Spirit Power, rank 21 Attack System Spirit Grandmaster, Spirit, Iron Fan. Name, Pan Jinlian, age, 12, Spirit Power, rank 21 Support System Spirit Grandmaster, Spirit, Lotus. However, Pan Jinlian was currently staring straight at Tang Chuan, her knotted muscles made it clear that she was not a weak woman. Even Ma Hongjun, who couldn't suppress his evil fire whenever he saw a woman, didn't even glance at her. As for X-Men Cheng, he looked weak and delicate, walking in an effeminate manner while holding an orchid finger gesture. It was hard to associate his appearance with an Attack System Spirit Master. Guest, your dishes have arrived. Just then, the waiter brought several servers to serve Fuyi the fine delicacies of this place. Among them were some low-level spirit beast meats, which were more nutritious than ordinary meat. Zhu Zuqing, let's eat. Zhu Zuqing was staring blankly at Fuyi without blinking, but after hearing his words, she instantly snapped back to reality. Mouth hum. ... Oscar, look, that girl at that table wearing the black bodysuit has such a hot figure. Just as Fuyi and Zhu Zuqing were happily eating dinner, who would have thought that this group of problem children from Shrek Academy, before waiting for the old turtle from the original work, would proactively cause trouble for themselves. Wow, it's true, and she's so pretty, even better looking than the top young miss from the other day. Oscar and Ma Hongjun's eyes swept towards Zhu Zuqing like scanners, but most of their line of sight was blocked by Fuyi, who was sitting opposite Zhu Zuqing. Damn it, that kid is a real buzzkill, actually daring to block Fatty Yi from looking at a beauty. At this moment, Ma Hongjun spat on the ground, and Oscar also wore an annoyed expression. After all, in the current Shrek Academy, there was only Pan Jinlian, a girl who was more masculine than a man. They had no need to restrain their character and behavior. In the original work, they dared to make lewd jokes toward female students from Kanghui Academy in front of Xiao Wu, Zhu Zuqing, and Ning Rongrong. Now that the academy only had boys and 1 tomboy, they became even more unscrupulous. Tang San and Daimubai also cast their gaze toward the eating Zhu Zuqing after hearing Oscar and Ma Hongjun's discussion, and Fuyi naturally noticed this. However, after seeing Zhu Zuqing's figure, Tang San's eyes narrowed. That's right, this kid Tang San was instantly stunned. After all, he was an old virgin who had lived 2 lifetimes. In the original work, he had Xiao Wu to accompany him, but now, he hadn't even held a girl's hand. The most beautiful girls he had ever seen were Xiao Wu and Wu Ling. Zhu Zuqing's beauty was clearly not inferior to theirs, and in terms of figure, she was even better. When Daimubai saw Zhu Zuqing's appearance clearly, the excitement originally contained in his eyes instantly turned into fear. At this moment, he looked at the young man sitting opposite Zhu Zuqing with a terrified gaze. No, impossible, how could it be him? Daimubai's rambling appearance was caught by Tang Chuan, who was feeling extremely depressed. His Xiao Wu had been taken away, and he, who had wanted to enslave Du Guyan, had instead been a medicine slave for Du Gubo for over 2 years. After arriving at Shrek Academy, he discovered that Zhu Zuqing and Ning Rongrong had also disappeared, and his teammates had all been replaced. This discovery made him feel a trace of panic, and he guessed that this world was not the one he had once existed in, but a parallel space-time where the characters and events were similar to the original. Having been a god king for so many years, Tang Chuan's knowledge was still quite extensive. Now, with the major reshuffling of Shrek Academy, the disappearance of Lanba Academy, and the inexplicably appearing Jusheng Pavilion Hotel. All these changes could only be explained by a parallel world. But he knew that no matter how the world changed, Spirit Hall's ambition to unify the continent remained. Bibi Dong had already obtained the Rakshasa god legacy, and the angel god Jian Runshui was likely about to obtain the angel god's trial. No, he, Tang Chuan, could not just fade into the crowd like this. Shui Yi possessed the Sea God Island's vast sea cosmic shroud, and Du Gubo must have hidden the immortal herbs. As long as he relied on his foresight to steal an immortal herb and successfully obtain the vast sea cosmic shroud, he could also start the sea god's trial early. As for the Asura god's trial, he only needed to rely on hidden weapons to fight through Slaughter City in advance. Later, it would naturally beg him like a dog to take the Asura god position. Thinking this way, Tang Chuan felt a bit more comfortable. He was the former ruler of the god realm, the former god of wisdom, Tang San. He only needed to make a slight move to be the limit of the continent. As long as he could become a god, wouldn't he be able to do whatever he wanted? What Fuyi, what Spirit Hall? He swore to make Du Gubo watch helplessly as his granddaughter knelt on the ground and licked the soles of his shoes. He wanted to make everyone who had hostility toward him become slaves under his feet. Thinking this, he also cast his gaze in the direction Ma Hongjun was pointing, yet he saw a scene that left him in disbelief. Zhu Zuqing, how could it be Zhu Zuqing? How could she appear here? By the time he snapped out of it, he happened to lock eyes with Fuyi, who had turned around and was looking at them with golden eyes. After seeing Fuyi's familiar face, Tang Chuan froze on the spot. Fuyi met their gazes and swept his eyes over them, then sat directly beside Zhu Zuqing. Amidst the envious and jealous gazes of Ma Hongjun, Oscar, and the other members of Shrek Academy, he wrapped his arms around Zhu Zuqing right in front of them. Chapter 94, Jealous Ma Hongjun, leaving Daimubai. Zhu Zuqing's current affection, 90%. Zhu Zuqing naturally noticed the aggressive gazes from those few people over there, but she didn't want to cause trouble for Brother Fuyi, so she could only suppress her temper and ignore them. However, she didn't expect Brother Fuyi to directly sit beside her and then pull her into his arms. Oh, mouth, oh. Ma Hongjun's lust-filled eyes were practically burning with jealousy at this point. Why should he get this? Just because he's handsome, because he's a pretty boy. Damn it, he dares to provoke your fatty. Today I'll let this kid know who's boss. Ma Hongjun was no pushover, especially now that the evil fire inside him had been stirred up a bit. Now he was like someone on stimulants, completely devoid of reason. Fatty, stop it, just look and that's enough. No matter how good-looking she is, she's none of our business. Although Oscar had been influenced by the colorful culture that Daimubai and Ma Hongjun dabbled in, he still knew what could and couldn't be done. At this moment, he was desperately grabbing Ma Hongjun's arm. After all, though Oscar was lustful, he wasn't a lecherous demon. He couldn't bring himself to do things like forcibly taking someone else's girlfriend or fiancé like Daimubai. Hey, since I've seen her, it's very much my business. With such a great figure and dressed so provocatively, she's clearly no good. At this point, the evil fire in Ma Hongjun's lower abdomen and the lust in his brain were converging. All he wanted was to vent his desires. A flicker of killing intent flashed in Fuyi's eyes upon hearing Ma Hongjun's words, but he didn't strike directly. Instead, he wanted to see what tricks they would pull next. Seeing that he could barely hold Ma Hongjun back, Oscar directly called out to Daimubai, who was sitting nearby with his head down and not daring to make a sound. Boss Dai, Tang-san, why aren't you coming to hold Fatty back? I can't hold him much longer. Oscar really had a hard time. Didn't Fatty just quench his evil fire last night? Why is it flaring up again today? But at that moment, a mischievous smile appeared on Tang Chuan's lips. He knew the rules of the academy well. Those who dare not cause trouble are mediocre. Fuyi stole his wife, so he could let Ma Hongjun and Tang-san be the ones to charge in and vent his anger for him. He wasn't asking for much, just hoping to annoy Fuyi, that was enough. Oscar, don't stop Fatty anymore. Didn't the dean tell us? Those who dare not cause trouble are mediocre. Do you want to be that coward? Hearing Tang Chuan's words, Oscar was taken aback. Although he looked down on Tang-san, who had a scar on his face, the latter was a genuine spirit elder, and what he said was indeed what the dean had told them. Brother Chuan, isn't this a bit inappropriate? What are you afraid of? The dean has our backs. ... Just over 10 seconds later, except for Daimubai, who had mysteriously disappeared, the other 6 members of Shrek had all gathered not far from the luxurious wooden table where Fuyi was sitting. But at that moment, Fuyi was using the pretext of doing good for Zhu Zuqing to engage in sweet interaction with her. As if understanding that Fuyi was helping her out, Zhu Zuqing sat obediently on his lap, her delicate cheek lightly pressed against his chest, slowly eating the shrimp he fed her. How is it? Tasty. Fuyi's voice was very soft. Hearing his words, Zhu Zuqing blushed and nodded. This scene was fully witnessed by the 6 people present. Looking up at the slowly approaching Shrek members, Fuyi directly picked up a crystal clear shrimp, put it in his mouth, and under the envious and jealous gazes of the 6, fed it to Zhu Zuqing's pink lips. Zhu Zuqing was startled by Fuyi's intimate gesture, but she had no intention of resisting. She just closed her eyes slightly, savoring the sweetness in her mouth. Zhu Zuqing's current affection, 95%. Kid, take your dirty hands and dirty mouth off this chick, and get the hell out of my sight. Ma Hongjun, along with 5 Shrek members, strode aggressively to stand before Fuyi and Zhu Zuqing. It should be noted that Daimubai was just a paper tiger now. The only reason Ma Hongjun called him Boss Dai was because Daimubai was willing to pay for his brothel visits. When it came to actual strength, Daimubai and Ma Hongjun were about 60-40 in favor of Daimubai. But once Ma Hongjun obtained his 3rd spirit ring, the power dynamic between him and Daimubai would be completely reversed. Then Daimubai would be completely dominated by him. 1st ring 100-year Tang-san, 3rd ring 100-year Tang Chuan, Food System Spirit Master Oscar, 2 new 21st level Spirit Grandmasters, and Daimubai whose spirit was 90% crippled. At present, the only notable combat strength in Shrek was Ma Hongjun, the fire-spitting chicken. The rise in status and strength within the academy made Ma Hongjun a bit cocky, and his personality had become increasingly arrogant and domineering. Brother Fuyi, I. Both Zhu Zuqing and Fuyi ignored Ma Hongjun's barking. After all, Zhu Zuqing had never been so close to a guy before, let alone lip-to-lip feeding. This was a first. Be good, Zuqing, I'll take you to hunt for a spirit ring later. Fuyi rubbed Zhu Zuqing's little head, then turned his gaze to Ma Hongjun and his group, who had almost reached him. Something wrong. Fuyi lounged comfortably in the soft chair, holding Zhu Zuqing, and amidst the envious glances of the group, he didn't forget to kiss Zhu Zuqing's slightly flushed cheek again. You. Ma Hongjun was about to explode. It had always been them, Shrek, bullying others, no one had ever bullied them. You, what, if there's nothing, please leave quickly. My little kitten and I need to rest. Fuyi glanced casually at the Shrek members. At this point, Tang-san, having clearly seen Fuyi's face, widened his eyes in shock. Teacher Fuyi. Tang-san's exclamation caused a stir. Except for Ma Hongjun, who was blinded by lust, everyone else stood frozen in place. Teacher. At this moment, Tang-san never dreamed that he would run into the teacher who had left Nuoding Academy early right here. Little San, your memory isn't so good. I was your teacher for 4 years after all. Ah, recognized. No matter. Every single one of them here today will get a beating. Especially Ma Hongjun. If he can walk out intact, Fuyi would rather kill himself. Damn it, I don't care if you're a teacher or not. You pissed off your fatty, and you think he'll let you off easy. Ma Hongjun looked at Zhu Zuqing, who was so close, and finally couldn't hold back his anger. Phoenix, manifest. First spirit ability, Phoenix Fire Wire. Chapter 95, Zhao Wuji, perishes. The fire red ray, carrying a scorching aura, lunged straight at Fuyi's face. However, for Fuyi, such a meager attack was as weak and inconsequential as the faint breeze stirred by an ant looking up beneath his feet. Fuyi finally had a thorough understanding of the Shrek student's character. Daimubai was just a spineless coward who bullied the weak and feared the strong, and Oscar was merely a hypocrite who threw his weight around. As for that fatty, Ma Hongjun, he was nothing more than an animal and he that thought with his lower half. As long as his evil fire went to his head, there was nothing he wouldn't do. As for Tang-san, hey, who doesn't know the character of God King Tang? The #1 person in the anime world to kill his wife to attain the Tao. When others are strong, I am submissive. When I am powerful, I am the best in the world. You say you disagree, then let's see if my sea god trident is sharp enough. After all, he was a ruthless person who could harden his heart enough to tear his own daughter's soul into 3 pieces. Even Fuyi was quite impressed by his methods. Bang. Before that deep red flame ray could even reach Fuyi, it burst into thin air and then dissipated in front of everyone. The ignorant are fearless, but they are guilty. Since you have spoken rudely to my girl and even insulted me, then you shall temper yourself in this sea of fire. As Fuyi's voice fell, Ma Hongjun was terrified to discover that the flames on his body were beginning to spin out of control. Boom. Surging flames rose up on Ma Hongjun's body. That's right, his own flames were actually burning his own body. At this moment, a small flame appeared at Fu Yi's fingertip. In an instant, it turned from yellow to red, then to blue, and finally into a viscous purple-black. As Fu Yi casually tossed it onto Ma Hongjun, the flames on the other's body turned black-purple at almost the same moment. The terrifying high temperature caused everyone present to retreat. Ah, so hot, it burns, my hand, ow. A shrill scream came from the viscous flames. Suffering such pain, Ma Hongjun no longer thought about any beauties. At this moment, he only wanted to extinguish the flames on his body. But how could the black fire Fu Yi had conjured be easily extinguished by him? It was like a maggot on the bone, sticking to Ma Hongjun's body and impossible to shake off. Almost the second the black flames began to burn, a strong smell of burning flesh wafted from Ma Hongjun's body. Fu Yi just leisurely held Zuqing, watching the scene unfold before him. Didn't this damn fatty like women? He would ensure the other could never touch a woman again for the rest of his life. Crackling. The moisture on the surface of Ma Hongjun's skin was quickly scorched and evaporated by the black fire, eventually turning into black charcoal. However, that terrifying black fire still clung to the black charcoal, burning Ma Hongjun's body every moment. Ah, save me, quickly, save me, let me go, I was wrong, I shouldn't have, He rolled wildly on the ground, while Oscar, Tang Chuan, and the others retreated more than 10 meters away. There was no other reason, these flames were truly too terrifying. One must know that Ma Hongjun's spirit was originally the Nine Heavens Phoenix, it had only become the evil fire grass chicken due to a spirit mutation. Even so, his resistance to fire was quite good. Otherwise, if these flames had burned Dai Mubai, he would likely already be lying on the ground, motionless. Hongjun. Ma Hongjun. At this moment, the teachers from Shrek finally arrived. The leader was none other than Flender, who had been beaten into a dead dog by Fu Yi 2 years ago. Seeing how well he had recovered, Fu Yi felt he had been too lenient back then. Upon seeing his beloved disciple being scorched by flames, Flender immediately used his spirit power to grab him, whisked him out of the hotel at an extremely fast speed, and threw him into the wide river outside. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The black fire entered the river, instantly evaporating the surging water. As Ma Hongjun sank to the riverbed, the surface of the water bubbled continuously, filled with hot steam. Just then, a short, muscular middle-aged man came before Oscar and the others. Oscar, who made Ma Hongjun like that? The short man's eyes were filled with ferocity, and the killing intent radiating from his body could not be contained. Teacher Zhao, it's not that, it's us. That's right, the person standing in front of Oscar was the Vice Dean of Shrek, the infamous Devil King, Zhao Wuji. It's you, kid, right, the one who made Ma Hongjun look like this. Zhao Wuji was filled with killing intent at this moment, it was clear he really wanted to kill him. Fu Yi looked at Zhao Wuji with an indifferent gaze, not forgetting to pinch a little cheek of Zuqing in his arms. Hey, I hated when others show killing intent in front of me. Looking at Zhao Wuji's bandit-like appearance, Fu Yi had no desire to say anything more to him. First spirit ability, Vajra Palm. To beat his student like this right in front of him, if this got out, where would he, Zhao Wuji, put his face? A golden giant hand, carrying the force of a mountain-shaking blow, lunged straight at Fu Yi, looking as if it intended to flatten him into meat paste directly. Teacher Zhao, don't. Although Tang San believed Fu Yi was strong, he was definitely not as strong as Zhao Wuji, a spirit saint. After all, Fu Yi was a teacher who had taught him for 4 years, both reasonably and emotionally. He should speak up and persuade Teacher Zhao to spare Fu Yi. Of course, it was at most just a persuasion. After all, God King Tang at this period did have some character, but not much. Unknown to when, a 9-colored jade box appeared beside Fu Yi, from which a red flame longsword carrying a terrifying temperature burst forth. Fu Yi whispered in a low voice, and at this moment, Zhao Wuji completed his spirit avatar in an instant. Everything in the universe, all turned to ash. Almost instantly, everyone and every spirit beast within a 10-mile radius felt an indescribable heat, and Zhao Wuji also felt this aura that made even him feel fear. Hell of scorching heat. Fu Yi spat out softly. The next moment, the red flame longsword, carrying blazing flames, instantly broke through Zhao Wuji's first spirit ability and charged straight at Zhao Wuji's heart with an unstoppable momentum. Not good. 7th spirit ability, Avatar of Martial Soul. Swish. Poochie. A red light flashed, and everything turned to silence. Fu Yi was still leisurely teasing the blushing Zuqing in his arms, while the Shrek side all revealed looks of terror. Crackling. Zhao Wuji's avatar of Martial Soul, which stood dozens of zhong hai, turned into golden light spots and dissipated between heaven and earth at this moment. Seeing this scene, Tang San and Tang Chuan were both dumbfounded. A one-hit kill. Zhao Wuji, this high-level spirit saint, was killed in one hit by a sword after activating his avatar of Martial Soul. Sky-high flames erupted from Zhao Wuji's body. This time, not even the smell of burning flesh was emitted. The blood-like red flames instantly swallowed Zhao Wuji's form, turning him into a wisp of ash in front of them, dissipating between heaven and earth. Just at this time, Flender arrived with Ma Hongjun, whose black fire had been extinguished, and noticed Fu Yi sitting on the sofa. It's you. Chapter 96. Zuqing's initiative. Dai Mubai eavesdrops through the wall. Hey, isn't this an old friend? I didn't expect that after 2 years, we would be able to meet again. As Zhao Wuji turned into ashes and dissipated between heaven and earth, Flender, the honorary dean of Shrek, finally rushed over, only to see the person he never wanted to meet again in this lifetime. Upon hearing Fu Yi's words, Flender's pupils constricted, and then, amidst the astonished gazes of the Shrek students. Please forgive me, your excellency. These unruly students of mine are ignorant and have offended you. Please spare them, I can take them and get lost right now. Flender was truly terrified at this moment. Given the character of his disciple Ma Hongjun, he naturally knew what the other party would do, not to mention that Fu Yi was holding such a beautiful girl in his arms. Hey, that won't do. Your good disciple didn't just say he wanted to hit me earlier, he also wanted to snatch the girl in my arms. Regarding Flender's standards for educating people, Fu Yi could only say that he was truly trash. A spirit saint who could teach such a group of bastards, and who believed that not daring to cause trouble was for the mediocre. Your excellency, but you have already, my bro. However, before he could finish his sentence, a flash of sword light flickered, and the other party's arm was cleanly severed. Poochie. Blood gushed out from the other party's shoulder. Flender was worthy of being a spirit saint. He actually managed to refrain from letting out any scream, simply kneeling on the ground while clutching his severed arm, enduring the pain without saying a word. Your brother, it seems that everyone who dared to show killing intent towards me is already dead. Fu Yi's cold eyes looked indifferently at Flender. The other party was very sensible and did not risk his life against him because of Zhao Wuji's death and his own severed arm. Seeing Flender kneeling there clutching his severed arm in silence, Fu Yi couldn't be bothered to waste more breath on him. As the dean of an academy, you indulge your students in committing evil. You really are the same as you were 2 years ago. Swish. Another flash of sword light flickered, and the entire right arm of Ma Hongjun, who was scorched to a crisp, was torn off directly by Fu Yi. Blood flowed steadily from his shoulder, and his complexion turned pale at an extremely rapid speed. Hongjun. Flender was extremely regretful at this moment. Why did he let his disciple frequent brothels? If he had been able to restrain them, they wouldn't have provoked this plague god, Fu Yi, today. He regretted it so much. However, Ma Hongjun had already passed out from being burned, and at this moment, Tang Chuan looked at Fu Yi with eyes full of horror. What did he just hear? Your Excellency. Flender actually addressed Fu Yi as Your Excellency. The other party was actually a titled Douluo. But how was this possible? How could such a young titled Douluo exist on the continent? Your Excellency, please look. Get lost. Fu Yi had nothing good to say to Flender. It was only his own mercy last time that allowed the other party to keep his life. This time, considering that his attitude was somewhat sincere, he would just take one arm from him and his disciple each. As for Ma Hongjun, that piece of trash, he was in a worse state than a roast suckling pig. For a roast suckling pig, it's enough if the skin is roasted crispy, but he was already scorched. Not to mention medium rare, the whole person was at least rare. If it weren't for the fact that he had spirit power and a certain resistance to flames, he would have already turned into a pile of ash. Of course, Fu Yi had naturally held back, otherwise, the other party would definitely have turned into ashes instantly like Zhao Wuji. Brother Fu Yi, they. Zhu Zuqing was currently blushing, held in Fu Yi's arms, but she did not resist. She knew very well that some things would come when they were meant to. Now, she didn't need to worry about family matters, nor did she need to worry about survival or cultivate. This kind of comfortable and happy life was something others couldn't have even if they wanted it. Are you full? If you're full, let's go upstairs and rest. Tang San and the others had long since disappeared without a trace, and Fu Yi didn't want to bother with them. After all, he didn't come here to crush them to death. However, if they were truly courting death while Fu Yi was here, then Fu Yi wouldn't mind sending them to reincarnation first. Brother Fu Yi, I'm full. Zhu Zuqing's cheeks were flushed, and when she said this, she nervously closed her beautiful eyes. Zhu Zuqing current favorability 98%. Consequently, amidst the terrified and envious gazes of the remaining diners, Fu Yi carried Zhu Zuqing and stepped onto the stairs. Meanwhile, Zhu Zuqing simply buried her cheek in Fu Yi's arms, her cheek so hot that a faint mist began to rise. Fu Yi's room was on the 4th floor of the restaurant, which was also the top floor. Although the restaurant downstairs wasn't much, the room on the top floor was excellent. Even if it wasn't as magnificent as the Rose Hotel, it wasn't far off. Stepping into the room, the first thing one saw was a large, goose yellow bed, and the 2 small rooms nearby were also furnished with many daily necessities. After washing up, Fu Yi put on his large, gold-gilded pajamas and lay on the big bed, while Zhu Zuqing walked slowly into the bathroom with a flushed little face. It was clear she seemed very nervous. Splash. Fu Yi lay on the bed, very comfortably reading the Spirit Master magazine on the bedside. This was a journal produced by the Spirit Hall, containing some information about the current state of Spirit Masters and some simple trivia about Spirit Masters. However, reading this stuff was just for fun. After all, many things inside had no realistic basis and were purely wishful thinking. Rustle, rustle. Just at this moment, a faint sound came from the direction of the bathroom. Click. Before long, the bathroom door was opened, and carrying traces of misty water vapor, a stunning figure walked out from within. Black cat ears, black cat tail, purple gauze dress, lace suspenders. Fu Yi, _. That's right, Zhu Zuqing was cheating. She was actually in the spirit avatar state at this moment. You have to know that after a beast's spirit possesses the body, there will be relatively obvious spirit characteristics. Just like Zhu Zuqing and Zhu Zuyun, whose spirit is the hell civet, so in the spirit avatar state, they will have cat ears and a cat tail. Brother Fu Yi, am I pretty? Zhu Zuqing current favorability 99%. Watching this extremely foul play by Zhu Zuqing, Fu Yi couldn't help but exclaim that he couldn't take it. He had originally planned to wait 2 years for the little kitten to ripen before eating her, but now it seemed that a little greenness might taste even more refreshing. You have to know that Fu Yi was an out-and-out lecher. If you used such beauty to tempt him, then it could only be said that you had pinched a soft persimmon. Zhu Zuqing walked with cat steps and arrived in front of Fu Yi within a few breaths. Stepping gently onto the bed, the fresh and milky fragrance emitted from Zhu Zuqing's body after her bath rushed straight into Fu Yi's nasal cavity. Zuqing, are you sure? If you take this step, you won't have any way to turn back. Although Fu Yi said this with his mouth, at this moment he was extremely domineeringly pinning Zhu Zuqing against the corner of the wall. And on the other side of the wall, Dai Mubai was startled by the commotion, but when he heard the other party say the name Zuqing, his pupils suddenly constricted. At this moment, he nervously pressed his ear against the wall. He couldn't believe the voice he had just heard. Chapter 97 Dai Mubai collapses. Impossible, this is impossible. How could she do this? How could she treat me like this? No, I don't believe it. Dai Mubai was on the verge of madness. Although he had publicly broken off his engagement with Zhu Zuqing, without the approval of the imperial family, their private annulment was invalid. But now, seeing Zuqing really about to leave him, Dai Mubai was completely panicked. If he had previously thought that Zuqing was lying in Fu Yi's arms in the restaurant just to spite him, then this situation meant she had completely lost hope in him and was severing all ties. HMPH, big brother Fu Yi, am I not pretty? Her voice was soft. During this time, her older sister had been giving her pep talks every night, and with her sister's vivid descriptions each evening, her heart had begun to waver. After all, in terms of character, strength, and looks, big brother Fu Yi was the best among all the men she knew. No, you are very beautiful, even a few degrees more beautiful than your sister. Feeling all this, Dai Mubai's heterochromatic eyes were filled with rage. At this moment, even his breathing had become heavy. To him, the actions of Fu Yi and Zuqing were undoubtedly a fierce slap in his face. Of course, even if Fu Yi knew what the other party was thinking, he would dismiss it with disdain. After all, it was you who abandoned her, and now it was you who was shamelessly begging for reconciliation. She kept her purity for you, yet you threw yourself into the colorful world right in front of her, flirting and philandering with those so-called wildflowers. Sometimes Fu Yi really couldn't understand Dai Mubai's bizarre train of thought. If you called him a coward, he really was one. If you said he was useless, he still had some use. If you said he valued brotherhood, he betrayed his brothers. If you said he didn't, he still had some conscience. However, none of this had anything to do with Fu Yi. The little kitten had now broken her engagement with Dai Mubai, so she was a free woman. Parental arrangements and imperial marriages were all fleeting clouds before Fu Yi. In this world, only strength was of paramount importance. The little kitten lying in Fu Yi's arms was full of shyness and indignation. After all, big brother Fuyi had said she was beautiful and even better looking than her sister, so why hadn't he made a move yet? She was starting to doubt her own charm, as the situation she was facing didn't seem to be quite what her sister had described. Listening to Zhu Jing's words and observing her actions, Fuyi knew this must have been taught to her by that little woman, Zhu Zuyun. After all, in his impression, while she wasn't exactly a naive airhead, she was close enough. Zhu Jing, what should I do? What my sister taught me and what I'm facing are not the same thing at all. And she's not here right now, what am I supposed to do next? Zhu Jing felt a bit panicked. According to her plan, things should have progressed gradually and naturally, but big brother Fuyi. Feeling stifled, the little kitten who wanted to give herself away found that putting it into practice wasn't very simple. She was now very curious about how her sister had managed to accomplish such a feat back then. Gulp. Zhu Jing swallowed a mouthful of saliva. At this moment, she had fallen into self-conflict, even feeling insecure about her own looks and figure. Her gaze began to grow nervous and slightly unfocused. At this moment, she could only turn her attention elsewhere, avoiding looking at Fuyi's handsome face. Soon, her gaze was drawn to Fuyi's abdominal muscles. Smooth, fair, and incredibly firm, domineering abs. Zhu Jing seemed to have forgotten she was lying in Fuyi's arms. In Fuyi's eyes, her current behavior was no different from Adit's. Zhu Jing, big brother Fuyi's abs are so big. She seemed to be getting carried away. She used her fair little hand to pinch them. Big brother Fuyi's abs weren't just big, they were also hard. On the other side, Dai Mubai leaned against the wall, life having lost all meaning. Where was his former high spirits? Now, he was like a stray dog. Dai Mubai was completely desperate. Fuyi was a titled Douluo, he couldn't pose any threat to him, and he couldn't even report this to the Star Luo Empire. Upon learning of this, they would definitely try their best to win Fuyi over and then spare no effort to kill him. Dai Mubai's red and blue eyes were bloodshot. He had never imagined that he would end up in this state today. Watching the little kitten amusing herself, Fuyi made no move. A girl like her, both aloof and somewhat of a natural ditz, was rare in this Douluo continent. But now, it was fine. Zhao Wuji was dead, Flender was seriously injured, and Ma Hongjun was half dead. After the series of events, it actually forced them to go back. He had come here mainly to make Tang San's third spirit ring and external spirit bone disappear, but now it seemed that this matter wasn't so urgent anymore. Unknowingly, the night passed quietly. Dai Mubai, who had fainted in the middle of the night due to grief, woke up and left. He did not want to stay in this sorrowful place any longer. Upon leaving, Dai Mubai discovered that his companions had all left, so he simply left this place of sorrow as well and returned to Shrek. Evening descended. The sounds of mist and steam were endless. Item: Powerful Endurance Recovery Potion. After consuming this potion, it continuously restores spirit, stamina, and injuries for 3 days with no side effects. Stock: 99,999 plus. Price: 0. This endurance potion was originally intended for Fuyi to recover spirit power and injuries, but unexpectedly, it had miraculous effects in this regard as well. Fuyi's use of this item was the same logic as the nobility's use of whale glue and musk. Nobles used items that enhance the spirit master's physique and spirit quality as tools for their own amusement, while Fuyi used this continuous recovery potion to cheer on his wife. In fact, what Fuyi understood the least was the spirit master system of the Douluo continent. After all, in other Xuanwan worlds, cultivators could wipe out millions of troops with a wave of their hand, but look at Douluo here. Things like 100,000 troops exhausting a spirit Douluo to death, or tens of thousands of troops exhausting a spirit emperor or spirit saint to death. Not to mention using high explosive grenades like the Buddha's Fury Tang Lotus to directly blast a god, the angel god, into serious injury. Later, there was the rifle bullet, Guanyan's tear, piercing the heart of the god, the angel god, almost killing him. All these inexplicable behaviors made Fuyi feel a great sense of crisis. After all, a person would definitely die from a grenade, but you say it can blast a god into serious injury. Isn't it embarrassing to say that out loud? And after becoming a god, a punch weighs 100,000 tons. What about the semi-trucks from his previous life? Not to mention the modified 100-ton king series, a single tricycle could haul 5 sea god tridents for you. Would you be stunned or what? Chapter 98, Meeting Meng Yiren again, Millennium Man faced Demon Spider. Early on the 4th morning, Zhu Zuqing, who had slept for an entire day, finally recovered some mobility, though her limping gait appeared somewhat strange. Little Wildcat, how do you feel? Looking at Zhu Zuqing, who was limping with a stubborn expression on her face, Fuyi wore a look of smug satisfaction. He then took advantage of her distraction to stride forward, scoop her into his arms, and gently stroke her slightly swollen belly, causing her to blush. One had to know that he possessed the dragon god bloodline, and the things within his body were naturally excellent supplements for a spirit master with a beast spirit. HMPH, it's all your fault. No matter how much you eat, it's never enough. Zhu Zuqing desperately pushed the bad guy, Fuyi, away. Heaven knows how she had survived these past few days. Recalling the absurd things she had done, she wanted to dig a small hole and bury herself in it. Tisk, I wonder who was holding me and saying it wasn't enough and wanted more. Woo woo woo. Upon hearing Fuyi's words, Zhu Zuqing threw herself onto him and covered his mouth with her fair, petite hands. Don't say another word, or else I. Seeing the crimson flush appearing on Zhu Zuqing's pretty face, Fuyi closed his mouth. After all, even though the little kitten had been thoroughly devoured by him, she was still very thin-skinned in public. As soon as they arrived downstairs, they saw Dai Mubai sitting alone at the side, eating with a look of desolation on his face. However, neither he nor Zuqing paid any attention to the other. Fuyi took a moment to observe him, while Zuqing simply treated him like a passerby. After experiencing the storms of the past 3 days, Zuqing sat in Fuyi's arms much more naturally than before. Just as Fuyi and Zuqing were ordering food, Dai Mubai finally noticed the two of them. The moment Dai Mubai saw Zhu Zuqing, his eyes regained a hint of luster, but when he saw Fuyi's large palm slowly stroking Zuqing's slightly swollen belly. As a seasoned veteran, Dai Mubai recalled the situation where the two had been in their room for 3 days, and he understood Zhu Zuqing's condition in an instant. After a moment of absent-mindedness, he was in a daze, and he even unconsciously stuffed the food from his chopsticks into his own nostril. Fuyi and Zhu Zuqing flirted with each other, while Dai Mubai sat in place, his eyes vacant. A short half-hour passed, and Fuyi and Zhu Zuqing were ready. Zuqing, how is it? Are you full? Zhu Zuqing was startled upon hearing Fuyi's words. No, you've been eating me for 3 days. If you eat any more, I'll break. No, I'm asking if you've finished your meal. We need to go obtain a spirit ring. Finally, Dai Mubai, who had been enduring for 3 days, could no longer hold back his anger. Ah, I hate this, I hate it. Why must you toy with me like this, heaven? Ah, the voice faded into the distance. That's right, Daimubai finally couldn't take it anymore. He left the place like a madman and sprinted desperately in the direction of Shrek. This time, Fuyi had to admire Daimubai. Although he wasn't a real man, he really had a good brain. The Stardew Great Forest, an extremely vast world. Looking from afar, it was an endless ocean of green. Tall and dense trees were like giant green umbrellas, blocking out the sky and sun. Sunlight struggled to filter through the gaps in the branches and leaves, forming mild shadows of light, as if golden threads were dancing in the forest. The ancient trees were thick and upright, their trunks covered in moss and traces of spirit beast movements. Some trees were twisted and coiled, yet their leaves were lush and dripping with green, rustling in the breeze. The ground was covered with thick brown fallen leaves and humus, feeling soft and elastic when stepped upon. Fuyi had come to the Stardew Great Forest once again, but this time he wasn't here to play with Awu and the others. After all, it wasn't time to flip the tablet yet. At the very least, he would have to wait until the day after tomorrow to come and play with them. Wrestle. As soon as Fuyi arrived with Zuqing, he directly expanded his mental force. For him, finding a suitable spirit beast was simply too easy. As Fuyi's mental force covered the surrounding tens of kilometers, he soon discovered a spirit beast that was very suitable for Zuqing. Brother Fuyi, what kind of spirit beast are you going to find for my third spirit ring? Zuqing had gradually recovered her mobility by now, and she was no longer limping, although her gait was not entirely natural. I've already found it for you. It's a Dark Knight Demon Dragon around 3,000 years old. This thing even carries a trace of the true dragon bloodline, and the quality is quite good. Fuyi's words directly startled Zuqing. Was it that fast? They had only just arrived at the Stardew Great Forest. Let's go, I'll take you over to absorb the spirit ring first. Fuyi gently scooped up Zuqing, and their figures instantly vanished from the spot. On the other side, a black shadow about 3 meters long was fleeing frantically through the forest, and behind it closely followed a tall figure holding a dragon-headed staff. Damnable beast, to run this fast. The tall figure cursed under his breath and picked up speed after looking at the old person and the young person following closely behind. That's right, they were Dragon Duke, Snake Granny, and their granddaughter, Meng Yiren. Because the Millennium Phoenix tail-crested serpent they had found at first had escaped, fortunately, they had encountered this Millennium-level man-faced demon spider, which was even more suitable for their granddaughter than the previous Phoenix tail-crested serpent. Grandma, let's speed up too. No need, trust in your grandfather's strength, he is a spirit Douluo powerhouse. Fuyi brought Zuqing to the nest of the Dark Knight Demon Dragon. It was an extremely deep cave, and the Dark Knight Demon Dragon was likely resting at the very bottom of the cave. After all, this kind of creature only came out to hunt at night. One had to know that the true strength of a Dark Knight Demon Dragon with a trace of true dragon bloodline was likely to be its age multiplied by 2. However, the absorption conditions for these top-grade spirit rings were not too much higher than those of ordinary spirit rings, which was the reason why children of those great families sought out more powerful spirit rings. Water Cold, Sky Rainbow, go and poke that little brat down there out. Fuyi released his spirit, the Divine Sense Sword Box. One had to know that he hadn't even summoned all the divine swords until now, and every sword in his spirit possessed a spirit of its own and could understand Fuyi's simple commands. Swish, swish. A red and a blue divine sword instantly pierced down from the cave entrance. In less than a minute, both Fuyi and Zuqing felt the vibrations beneath their feet. Roar, roar, roar. A shrill dragon roar came from within the cave, followed by a huge pitch-black figure rushing toward the sky. Great Red Lotus Hell, Ice Seal. Fuyi uttered softly, and then a terrifying ice blue radiance erupted from the water-cold sword, piercing directly into the Dark Knight Demon Dragon's spine with a single strike. Boom. As the Dark Knight Demon Dragon was frozen until only its head remained, its huge body slammed directly onto the ground. Chapter 99, The Overbearing Dragon Duke Gets Beaten Up. Poochie. Zuqing did not hesitate. With Fuyi's help in cracking open the skull, she used one claw to pierce directly into the brain of the Dark Knight Demon Dragon, and a deep purple spirit ring slowly emerged from the Dark Knight Demon Dragon's massive body. Looking at the deep purple spirit ring on the Dark Knight Demon Dragon's corpse, Zuqing's eyes were filled with indescribable excitement. After all, this was her first 1,000-year spirit ring, and it was a 3,000-year super spirit ring that exceeded the limits of ordinary spirit rings. She could feel a powerful wave of spirit power radiating from the Dark Knight Demon Dragon's spirit ring. Taking a deep breath, she began to absorb this spirit ring. However, before absorbing it, she looked at Fuyi with an excited face. It's fine, with your physique, you can completely absorb this spirit ring. Fuyi came to her side and patted her little head, his voice filled with confidence in her. She sat cross-legged and used her spirit power to slowly guide the power of the spirit ring into her body. At the beginning, the spirit ring emitted a strong force of resistance, as if it were unwilling to be absorbed. But Zuqing did not give up. Relying on her firm will and tenacious perseverance, she continuously increased the output of her spirit power. As time passed, the spirit ring's resistance against her gradually weakened, and her absorption of the spirit ring began its countdown. But unexpected events always happen. Fortunately, Fuyi had long since sensed that a little bug had stepped into the scope of his domain. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Before long, a huge purple-black spider crashed straight toward Fuyi through the trees behind him. It was clear that it was running in a great hurry, so much so that it only noticed Fuyi, a living person, when it was already right in front of him. Hey, it really is a 1,750-year-old man-faced demon spider. I originally thought if I didn't run into you, I'd let you go, but with the way you're rushing to your death right now, even if the Asura god were here, I'm afraid he wouldn't be able to save you. Accompanied by a golden shield that instantly covered Zuqing tightly, Fuyi directly punched the armor on the man-faced demon spider's abdomen. Boom. With one punch, it was sent flying directly into the trunk of a tall ancient tree on the opposite side. It did not shatter into snow like foam, which naturally meant Fuyi had held back. Because he had discovered the Dragon Duke, Snake Granny, and their granddaughter, the three of them, following closely behind. Swish. The next moment, the Dragon Duke dashed out, however. 30 seconds later. Tread, tread, tread. Two figures, one old and one young, had just emerged from the jungle when they saw the Dragon Duke, whose face was covered in scars, being stepped on by a young man. Old geezer, if you don't tell the truth, then don't blame me for being impolite. Fuyi unceremoniously stepped on the Dragon Duke's face and rubbed it repeatedly. When this old thing first saw the stunned man-faced demon spider, he thought it had been killed by Fuyi, and in his anger and embarrassment, he wanted to reason with Fuyi. However, the result is clear now. Under Fuyi's reasoning, Meng Shu, the Dragon Duke, this stubborn old mule, was subdued by Fuyi. MMPH, MMPH, MMPH. Fuyi had one foot directly planted on the Dragon Duke's old face. It was clear that he seemed to want to defend himself a bit. Still not talking? Then don't blame me for being merciless under my foot. Bang. Consequently, under the shocked gazes of Meng Yiren and Snake Granny, the Dragon Duke's head was directly stomped into the ground by Fu Yi. Old man. Grandfather. Meng Yiren and Snake Granny were both frightened by this scene, but when they saw clearly who was beating the Dragon Duke, they were shocked again. It's you. It was this exclamation that pulled Fu Yi back from the joy of bullying someone. You're that little girl who competed against Su Qing. Fu Yi pretended not to know anything, and then used the sole of his foot to stomp on the Dragon Duke's back again. You, bad person, let go of my grandfather. Meng Yiren was dying of anxiety. She never expected that coming here to find a suitable spirit ring would take so much time. The first one escaped, and just as she found a second suitable spirit beast, her grandfather got beaten up. Oh, this is your grandfather. Hey, let's assume he is, but since he wanted to make a move on me, he has to pay the corresponding price. Fu Yi had always been an approachable and humble person, but for those old men and young punks who started violence first and looked for trouble, Fu Yi had zero tolerance. That old thing Douluo was a good example. Although he was beaten like a dog, didn't he later help him remove the toxins and give him an immortal herb, considering that the other party had guarded the herb garden for so many years? Douluo, yes. Douluyan, so what? I even agreed to be your wife. Fu Yi, being a playboy does not equal being a scumbag. Playing with one and throwing them away is what makes a scumbag. Although I fall for one every time I see one, I have a full set of vicious beast spirit bones, a full set of god-bestowed spirit rings, matching immortal herbs, and 9 limit Douluo bodyguards as a dowry. Old geezer, if you don't explain your actions from just now properly, then don't blame me for burying you here today. Looking at the Dragon Duke, who was in the same situation as Douluo back then, Fu Yi felt a wave of nostalgia. Next time I run into Douluo, I'll perform this little routine on him to catch up on old times. Little friend, MMPH. Bang. With another stomp, Meng Shu only felt his brain go blank. One must know that he was a dignified spirit Douluo powerhouse, to be suppressed by the other party to the point where he couldn't even manifest his spirit. Little friend, this matter is that this old man. Bang. Little friend, I was wrong, I was really wrong. Bang. Little brother, this old man was wrong, I was really wrong. Stop stepping, if you step again, my old bones will really be broken. Good grief, it took several more stomps for this old thing to finally lower his posture. He hated these old geezers who acted superior in front of him, opening their mouths with, this old man, and closing with, boy, only calling him, little friend, when they were happy. Look at this now, this old man, has changed too, old man, and, little friend, has changed too, little brother. Tisk, look at you. Wouldn't it have been over if you just said that earlier? You're already my prisoner, yet you're still putting on airs here. If you don't get beaten, who would? Fu Yi pulled his soul off Meng Shu's face, which had already sunk into the mud, and looked back at Meng Yiren and her grandmother, who were stunned on the spot. Little girl, your grandfather is a bit too stubborn. When you have free time, talk to him more. He had to take these few kicks from me to know how to respect people. Fu Yi stretched his muscles and bones, then came directly to Zu Qing's side. At this moment, Zu Qing's absorption of the spirit ring was gradually nearing its end, but she could feel a mysterious and powerful force beginning to flow into her body. Her hands began to change, her fingernails became sharp as blades, and black patterns spread out like dragon scales. Chapter 100. Little Kitty fuses with the 200,000-year vicious beast level Dark Holy Dragon Right Claw. Fu Yi naturally noticed the black dragon claw phantom appearing on Zu Qing's right hand, but at this moment, he was very dissatisfied with this external spirit bone. Change it, absolutely must change it. Since Zu Qing had already become his wife, this external spirit bone absolutely could not be something of such low grade. Item, Dark Holy Dragon Right Claw Bone, 200,000-year vicious beast level external spirit bone, stock, 99,999 plus, price, 0. He looked at the items in the system mall. One had to know that this Dark Holy Dragon possessed an extreme darkness attribute, and its boost to Zu Qing would absolutely be enormous. System, give me one first. Congratulations to the host for successfully purchasing one next 200,000-year vicious beast level Dark Holy Dragon Right Claw Bone. Detecting the host's inner desire, now helping the host's dependent, Zu Qing, absorb the Dark Holy Dragon external spirit bone. The system has this function too. How come he didn't notice it before? But that wasn't important. What was important was being able to replace that piece of trash Dark Knight Demon Dragon with this Dark Holy Dragon external spirit bone. Just at this moment, within Zu Qing's mental force C, the remaining mental force of the Dark Knight Demon Dragon was rampaging. However, Zu Qing was very clear that as long as she held out against this assault, the reward she would obtain would be unimaginable. Roar, roar, roar. The Dark Knight Demon Dragon was still showing off its power in Zu Qing's mental force C, unaware that a certain big shot who didn't want to reveal his name was about to arrive on the scene. Oh woo. The next moment, a terrifying dragon roar directly shattered all of Zu Qing's defenses of her mental force C. A giant dragon, over 1,000 zhang long and filled with an aura of extreme darkness, looked down at Zu Qing and the tiny remnant soul beneath it. Roar. A shocking dragon roar spread out from Zu Qing's mental force C. The next moment, this massive dark dragon actually swallowed the Dark Knight Demon Dragon instantly. Zu Qing was completely stunned. How could such a terrifying giant dragon appear in her mental force C? The only possibility now was that her big brother Fu Yi was helping her from the outside. Oh woo. The dark dragon merged into Zu Qing's mental force C at this moment, and Zu Qing suddenly felt the spirit power within her body surging. A touch of coolness appeared on her right hand. Meanwhile, in the outside world. After Zu Qing completed the fusion with this vicious beast level Dark Holy Dragon spirit bone, her body was filled with an aura of extreme darkness. Meng Yiren and her grandparents, who had noticed this anomaly on the side, were frozen in place. Clang. With the help of the system, the Dark Holy Dragon's dragon claw was perfectly absorbed. And Zu Qing's spirit power soared in a straight line at this moment. Just the energy brought by this external spirit bone in the spirit ring pushed her own spirit power to the high level of 39. Now, she was only one level away from reaching the spirit ancestor realm. Gu tilde. Zu Qing exhaled a breath of turbid air. She felt her body light and airy, and her physical strength seemed to far exceed what it was before she absorbed the spirit ring. However, when she checked the spirit power within her body, she couldn't stay calm. Brother Fu Yi, my spirit power. However, before Zu Qing could finish, she saw 3 strange figures in front of her, including a tall, old man who looked quite disheveled. Not bad, already level 39. The distance to the next breakthrough isn't far. Seeing the little kitty finish absorbing the spirit ring and spirit bone, Fu Yi walked directly to her side and pulled her into his embrace. Ya tilde brother Fu Yi is bad. Although Zu Qing was startled by Fu Yi's action, she had no intention of dodging. Instead, she obediently hid in Fu Yi's embrace. This scene was witnessed by Meng Yiren and her grandparents. Since you have finished absorbing the spirit ring and spirit bone, let's go. Fu Yi pinched Zhu Qing's little nose. Of course, he naturally knew that the little beauty Meng Yiren was present, but so what? Zhu Qing was his wife now, and he had just taken her body. If he were to neglect his own little kitty just for Meng Yiren's ethereal favorability, what difference would there be between him and a piece of trash? Hee. Zhu Qing naturally understood why her spirit power had surged like this, and that sky-covering black dragon in her mental force. See, these things must have been caused by her big husband Fu Yi. Young friend, wait. Just as Fu Yi was about to take Zhu Qing and leave this place, Meng Shu actually called out to him directly. What, still want a beating? Fu Yi looked back at Meng Shu, and at this moment, the Dragon Duke was extremely panicked. Your Excellency, this old woman would like to know which academy you are a teacher at. Just at this moment, Snake Granny, who had let Meng Shu call out to Fu Yi, spoke up, and Meng Yiren looked at her grandmother with a blank gaze. Asking about my location, could it be to make it convenient to seek revenge on me later? Fu Yi didn't understand either. What on earth were Meng Shu and Snake Granny doing? He had been out playing with Zhu Qing for 4 days. If he didn't go back, that girl Xiao Wu would probably stir up some trouble again. No, Your Excellency, you have misunderstood. This old woman is Chao Tianqiang. My husband, Meng Shu, is the sect leader of the exotic beast sect, known as the Dragon Duke. Among spirit masters, most call us the Dragon Snake couple. What the hell is this self-introduction? What are they trying to pull? Meng Shu was also stunned, not knowing what his old woman was trying to do. So, get to the point, or I'm taking my little kitty and leaving. Fu Yi couldn't be bothered to waste words with them. So what if he was the Dragon Duke? So what if she was Snake Granny? He just wanted to go back and perform routine duties with his group of wives. I want my granddaughter to join the academy you are too. Meng Shu, ODO. Zhu Qing, Ya. Fu Yi. His tilde if it's about this, it doesn't seem impossible. So that's it, the academy I am at is Tianshui Academy. The students inside are all girls, and I am just the lead instructor there. Hearing the request to let his granddaughter Meng Yiren enter Tianshui Academy, Fu Yi indicated that it was absolutely no problem. Of course, the little kitty in his arms still needed to be held tightly. After going back, that group of little girls would swarm him, and Zhu Qing probably wouldn't even be able to grab a spot. After all, she was his newlywed little bride, so appropriate privileges should be given when the time was right. However, your little granddaughter's talent isn't particularly good. I believe you saw that during the battle with Zhu Qing last time. Regarding Meng Yiren, her talent was indeed not high. Of course, that was compared to Zhu Qing and the others. Compared to other spirit masters, Meng Yiren's own spirit and talent were considered to be in the ranks of a genius. Your Excellency, Yiren is very diligent in her cultivate every day, and besides. Chapter 101, the first Tianshui